Howdy, howdy.
And we'll have a roll call. Let's see, I'm Alton Davis, I'm the chairman. Tom Leahy, vice chairman. Janet One-Time's the treasurer. Matt Forehand. Carol Weisenberg. Yeah. Larry Pitts. Jerry Scally. Diane's not here. Diane called, sent me word that she'd be traveling. So she's out traveling the countryside. Her and the husband. And then, Mike Clemens. So we've got 8 out of 9, so we've got a quorum, good enough to handle the meeting. We've got Tom Lawquist here as district attorney, and Shirley Phillips as district secretary, and Hans Wall is district attorney. Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance.
The scouts were here, they had to come away.
Oh, okay.
I didn't look. Huh? All right, sorry.
Chairman, I can help you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fortunately, we're still able to do that, aren't we? Okay. Let's see. We did the pledge of allegiance. We've got administrative announcements. I'm going to read all this stuff to you again. I'm not going to read any of it to you. In the table up there in front is to the members in the audience. It talks about conduct and how we do the business and that sort of thing. But you should know it. If you don't know it, if you have any questions about it, ask the question. Otherwise, we'll continue. If something's out of line, then I'll stop you. And then we'll move on. But what will happen is the board will have discussions about a particular subject. And then if it's an important subject, like a few of them will be tonight, then if you have questions after we finish discussion, you have to write it down on a piece of paper up there on the table, and then we'll give you an opportunity in 3 minutes to max to write your comments down, and then we'll give you an opportunity to talk for 3 minutes. All right. So if you have questions and prefer you put them right here. We've already got one. And by the way, anytime you want to, even before these meetings, you can send the district secretary questions, and they'll be included towards the end of the meeting or in the appropriate time if we continue doing it this way. So we'll try to do that on that particular subject, then we'll bring it back to the board, and then we'll finish our discussions, and if we feel like making motions and decisions, and we do that, or we take whatever action we think is necessary. So we'll try that and see how it works. Do I have any objections to that? Carol wrote up a thing, a nice suggestion thing on how it's done. I got a piece of paper from, Carol pretty much suggested, and other people have suggested too, that we try to follow the county, with county commissioners type format. And so we'll try that. Not positive, I've only been to one county commissioners meeting, so I'm not positive that I can follow the rules. But we'll try it that way and see what happens. They had the way I understand it, on the county commissioners, they have a little card there, or something that shows, you can't wear a baseball cap in the room, and you can't just speak out and holler and do things like that. So they had kind of a rules piece of paper. And then if you wanted to talk, they had some kind of card you had to fill out. And you had to get it, if somebody approved it and called on, at the appropriate time, they called on the person in the audience to speak. So that's what we'll do, okay? And, what is Carol's? And let's see. We need to, approve the minutes of the January the 9th meeting. Any questions or corrections or comments about the January 9th meeting? All right, somebody want to make a motion to approve? Carol, motion to approve. Larry, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried 8-0. Hans, I need to get you to sign that. I signed it. We need to, what we're doing, and Tom, I didn't talk to you about this, I don't think, but, we're trying to get the checking account stuff straightened out. And the bank wants verification that there was an election and that these are the officers and that sort of thing. So they said, when we get that approved at the next meeting, and get it signed and send it in. So that's what we're trying to do.
Actually, if I can jump in, Alton, because I spoke with a bank recently, and they said that they either need our charter showing who is responsible for signing, or they need the minutes showing who's elected, combined with a board vote that says we have signature authority.
Okay, then we need a motion to
Yes.
say who's gonna be able to sign it.
Yes, that is what.
And I talked with, Tom, you would know better on this, so, and Janet. I talked with Carl, and Carl said that normally it's been the three officers that are the signing people, and it's got something to do with a bond or something that the officers are bonded, or I don't know. Is that right? So, but, in talking to the bank lady, we can make a motion to do just that. But in talking to the bank lady, we right now have two people that are eligible to sign it. It's Matt and me. And she said until she gets this other paperwork and all changed, that that's the way it will be. And if we want to, and this is really a question for the board, if we want to have more than your officers sign, that they don't have a problem with that. But I don't know when you start talking about liabilities and bonding and all that stuff, I don't know whether I'd do that if I was Matt, but, you want to comment?
Yeah, the only thing, my only question was, our bonds are for 3 positions, not necessarily limited to the officers, is that correct?
I do not know that.
Okay. My understanding is that we may have the equivalent of 3 bonds that we can pick whomever 3, but we just can't go beyond the 3.
My understanding was strictly from Carl,
Okay.
so that's what he said was for 3 officers. And so that's all I could base it on, because I didn't have enough knowledge to know. And he did say that there was some documentation in past, he didn't say by type, whether it was minutes of meetings or motions that were made, but he said that had been clarified in the past, where it was chairman, vice chairman, and treasurer. So, if you want to take my place, I'll let you sign anything you want to.
Has anybody found the bond? The bond, we need to look at the bond to figure out a little bit about it. I've never seen the bond. I don't know who the bond's with.
Okay. Is it
So I'll try and find that out, but we need to have that understood. And it's probably the 3 officer positions is probably what it is. So, I don't know, I'll research it this week and try to find a bond.
If you're gonna speak, try and use the
Sorry.
microphone. So other
I
people can
forget we
hear
got
you.
ourselves monitored now.
Yeah, I'm intrigued because I think I spoke to, was it Melinda? Do I have the name right?
That's the
Yeah,
name I believe it is, yes.
There's like three different versions of this going around, so
Yeah.
I'll just stay out of it. I guess the question I had is, will this audit that we pay a lot of money for, does this bond and proper signatures spill over into this audit that is conducted by the state? How critical is that?
What state audit are you talking about?
The woman last year that maybe.
No, that is a CPA organization that is performing a governmental audit on behalf of Lambda, which is then submitted to the state and required by the state.
Okay,
But it's not, we're not audited by the state.
okay, but so the question is still pending, is that, does the signatures and bond all have to line up, or does that become a strike against us when the CPA does their audit?
One does not affect the other.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're still sitting here, and I think we need to have more than me and Matt able to sign checks. We've always had 3 people signing checks, all right? So, we need to,
Can we make a motion
Here.
to have the 3 officers be able to sign, that's a step in the direction we need to go? But you still have to figure out the bonds and,
well, I treat them totally separate. You know, we don't know what the bond says, so if we come back and the bond says something different than what our motion is this time, then we change it to the next meeting. That's what I would say. You? I mean, that's just my opinion.
So-
One thing, I want somebody else being able to sign this stuff, and I want somebody else being able to transfer money. Because I've transferred money, that was another mistake we had when Carl was defeated and then didn't show up at the last meeting that he could have, was Tom couldn't transfer money. Tom can view our balances and that sort of thing, but he can't transfer money. So I had to do all kinds of paperwork and stuff to get it where I could transfer money where we could pay the bills the last time, two meetings ago. And it's still set up that way where I'm the one that can sign that. And that's another thing we need to change on the checking is there's a way that we can have an alternate. And so we need to get that transferred to you, Janet, as the treasurer, and then we need to get an alternate selected for that. We don't have to do that tonight. Tonight, I think we need to get Tom added and Janet added to check signing. And maybe we just need a motion to do that. You make the motion, you talk to the lady, what does it take motion-wise to get that done?
Matt, do you have something?
Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to add Tom Leahy, Vice Chair, and Janet Wantage, Treasurer, to the signature authority for the Ameris Bank account for LAMSBD.
Okay, there's a motion.
second,
Carol, second. Any discussion?
Yes, so, I don't know if we want to amend it, is the motion that we postpone signing of tonight's checks?
No.
Or we're signing tonight and then we're getting it changed for the next meeting?
It will get changed when the bank processes all their paperwork, and I can't control when they do.
Fair enough.
So right now, what they said, Matt, was that until additional people are gone through the process, they have to fill out an application, submit information, and just like you're applying for a bank account with them individually, but you're not, you're doing the last one. And what the lady said to me was that once other people are approved and added to the list, if you want to take anybody off, that's when it would happen. But it wouldn't happen until other people are designated. Got the signature card done.
So that,
Just point out that she told me if we wanted to remove people who are no longer on the board, we have to specify that in our minutes as well. So we might amend that motion to have Carl's name removed.
I would request that the motion be amended that we remove Carl and myself And we do all that at the same time, so we don't exceed a bond limit of 3, and then we have all 3 of the officers as the signatories. That's the cleanest way to go, I think.
Well, I think Carl's already removed, because he had to be removed before I could be added to transfer money.
I don't know if he's been removed as a signatory authority, though.
Malou told me Carl was still listed as a signature, authorized signature.
Communication's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Okay, we will take your, so, an alternate motion's been made. We've already had a motion made and approved, so
No, we didn't have, we haven't heard it.
it didn't, no, we didn't vote on it. So it's not approved.
No, we haven't amended it on the floor.
Not yet. Not yet. She's the only one that can amend her motion.
Okay. I will amend the motion to add removal of Carl Coker and Matt Foreman as signatories to the LMSBD Ameris Bank account.
Okay, so we got an amended motion. Now we need a second.
Second.
Matt will second. Any more discussion on it? No. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it carries 8-0. All right.
From this point, when I have the minutes from this meeting, and they're finalized, so that's not gonna be until next month, I can take that to the bank and they'll perform those tasks.
Hans, a question for you from a legal standpoint. Can we not make some kind of declaration here right now that we just did that and we approve it? I mean, we approved the motion, so can we not just document that, hey, it's been,
You mean to get around waiting a month for
Yeah.
the minutes?
yeah,
I don't think that, I mean, the minutes have to be approved at a subsequent board meeting when they're, after they're drafted. I don't know, I mean, the way around that is to have a special meeting between which you all.
we'll leave that stuff. Okay.
Well, it's whatever the bank requires, it sounds like the bank is requiring minutes.
Minutes
So the
is what
minutes
they
are-
said
The minutes are
specifically.
approved at a subsequent meeting. I mean, sure, if the bank
All right,
accepts that. you can-
okay, I withdraw my question.
I may be able to talk them into, and I'll sit down and have a face-to-face conversation, but we might be able to talk them into taking draft minutes. But I think they should be marked as draft.
Well, question for you, and then same question for Tom. Did you fill out your application?
Yes, sir.
And you gave them proof of identity?
Yes, sir.
So
Two
you filled
proofs.
out everything that I gave you to fill out?
Yes, sir.
You did too? Okay. So I will talk to the lady that talked to me, get all this stuff going. And she said that if I got you guys to do that, and she got it run through their system, then she would give me a signature card that I could bring tonight and have you sign it and give it back to her, and everything is lovely. So I'll do it. If you've done everything you're supposed to do, so. Okay. Man, but you gotta hit me tonight, sign
Yeah.
checks. Okay.
You're really busting my chops, but I'll do it. I'll fall on the sword.
Appreciate it. Okay. So now we're down to the treasurer's report.
Yes, the January 1st of 2023, our prior month's public funds money market is $20,000. Prior month's transfer was the $20,000, and checks was $22,522.75. Moving on down, our balance was $2,483.02. Current month transfer from the public funds, the money market account is $15,000. And we have our outstanding checks to Shirley Phillips, Cobb and Gonzalez, Florida Department of State for 3 oaths. I'm gonna come back and circle back to those oaths in a second, because I do have a question about them. Actually, I'm gonna have to tackle that before we make a motion to pay these. Regarding the 3 oaths, and this is a question for you, Hans, can Lambsville pay for those oaths? Because in years past, we've always paid for our own oaths. And I'm not sure the organization can pay for them.
So run that by me again, what are we talking about?
The oaths of office, there's a charge
the
from the
oaths,
state,
the
yes,
oaths,
can
okay.
Lambsville pay for
Yeah,
those?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I called and verified that.
Okay,
Because I was confused as to why they were still requiring existing trustees to sign the oath when you all have already been on. Well, you know, I mean, I can understand the 2 new ones, but, what they said is each year they want all 9 to sign, or however many are on the board, but that's a district expense,
okay,
that $10. So
Okay.
that's something we paid for. That's why my email said you all consider it as one with a district check for $90 if you wanted, or you could do it separately.
yeah, I sent mine individually, but Shirley does have 3 of the oaths. So, okay, Florida Department of State, $30 for the oaths. Lee's Valve and Pump Repair, $4,500. Tom Holquist, $325. More Than Ink Printing for our letterhead, $92.45. Clay Electric, $47, for a grand total of $13,647.98. And our current general checking account balance is $3,835.04. Going down to our money market checking account, our balances is $49,523.93. Transfer from was $20,000, and our prior month's interest is $1,810.82. Okay, our balance looks fabulous. Well, it's $1,275,517.23. And our current month's deposit is $20,744.64. Transfer from the money market is $15,000. And our current money market balance is $1,281,261.87. For our total funds balance of $1,285,96.91. So motion to approve the treasurer's report is requested.
And approve the checks?
And approve the checks, yes, sir.
Second
Did you make a motion? You did.
If I can, I don't know as treasurer if I can make a motion to approve the report.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve the treasurer's report and complete the checks from 329 to from 3,829 to 3,834. And as well as the EFT to Clay Electric.
All right. Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So Janet made a motion, Tom second. Any more discussion?
I need to say, in December, I mailed my $10 check when I received that form for this oath thing. So they're gonna bounce back $10 at some point when they figure it out.
Probably
So
not. It's the state.
don't spend it all in one place.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried 8-0. We look at the,
There's 6 minutes.
we got, yeah, we got plenty of time. Tom didn't have anything listed for the district accountant, but I have the audit information. I've talked to Hanson, Brian Wozniak, so and I talked to you, so we'll fill that out. I'll get that, try my best to get that done this week.
Okay.
And hopefully that'll function, okay? Did you have anything else, Tom? Okay, district attorney, Hans?
No.
No, okay. And Shirley? The oath of office?
Yeah, you covered the oath of office, but I want everybody to know that every January I have to go through a certification with commissioners on ethics. That's done, and also the Bureau of Labor Statistics sends out a survey, so that you can report on all of your employees and their absentees or illnesses. So that's been done. And the only thing we have coming up, just remind all of you, plus Mike, you're new to this. Every May, end of April, first part of May, the State Commission on Ethics sends out a Form 1 that has to be filled out, returned to the state by the end of June, so that we can recertify the group for 2023. So be looking for that, because it comes directly to you in the mail. That's all I have.
Okay. I've been on the board for 2 years, and I have no recollection of that. That doesn't mean anything.
We did it last year.
I did it last year.
Trust me.
Larry,
We did ours together.
Sent
We did it.
my form into,
I have it right here. There were some others that
I
were
was
coming.
wondering,
Tom.
you made a statement on the email that it really wasn't any issue with timeline on it. I got a second notice from,
Really?
really,
You're not the first one.
ma'am.
You're not the first one, but I talked to the lady at the board, and she's the
I
one
just
that
wanted
told
you
me.
to do your job, that's all.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Trust me on that one. They
And wondering why I got a second notice.
because it's automatic. If they don't have your paperwork in, they'll send it out every 30 days until they get your paperwork. There is no official deadline, but for every 30 days until they get your oath, they will send you a statement saying that they didn't get it yet. So yeah, I have it right here with the rest of the ones that I got tonight.
okay. Okay. The next two items are gonna be combined. It's gonna be the Hanson update and the grants update. I didn't tell you that, Janet, but the people that will be involved from, it will be a virtual hookup here on the TV, big screen if we're lucky. Brian Wozniak, who's the head guy for Hanson, Justin Dewey, who's also a Hanson guy, Ken Avery, who's Bergman, and then the Kimley Horn people would be Kelly Smith and Laura Wittenbauer. Laura and Kelly are the ones that are actually doing the grants, but Brian obviously is over everything, and Kimley Horn is under Brian, and Justin is kind of Brian's right-hand man, and then Ken Avery is, Bergman is they're under Hanson too, the way it's organized, and he's had a lot of experience with projects that involved funding from grants and that sort of thing. So we felt like that that would be a good way to handle it, in addition to Kelly Smith and Laura Wittenbauer. So when they get hooked up, Tom, we'll turn it over to them.
Alton, may I interject?
Yeah.
Because we do have an issue regarding SAMs. We need a SAMs number in order to apply for federal grants. And I'm going to hand this over to Shirley and Matt to discuss what is happening with the SAMs. There's a new system, as I understand it, and it's very, very difficult. Shirley has 8 hours into this, and Matt has 3 hours into it at this point. So I'm going to hand it over to them to do a quick review of what's happening with the
We're
SAMs.
not quite ready for this coming.
We've seen the emails, haven't we, or not?
Yeah, so basically we set up, we yanked Carl off, and we set up the district secretary's email, as someone who can authorize other users. We authorized your request from last summer, but I can work with you. We can talk after the meeting, and I can see, let's budget some time this week too, and I'll show you how to go through it.
Oh, okay, because Shirley was saying it was a little difficult, and we may need some help on that.
And we may, I didn't go through the application per se, I just got to the point where we had an account that could do it.
Oh, okay.
We had to, but whereas before, the only account that could do it was Carl, and Carl's account is every person's account is personal to their individual self. So for Carl to approve somebody, he had to go through Real ID, he had to take pictures of his driver's license and go through all this rigmarole. So we yanked that out, and we've got right now 2 approved users, the secretary and yourself.
Okay, perfect.
And we do have a number.
Okay,
The number has not changed.
okay,
It may, once the application is complete, but at this point, it is still the same number we had last year. Okay?
okay, sounds good.
Are we not asking Kimley Horn to look at doing this for us?
That's one of the things we wanted to talk about this evening, yes, that's why I brought it up prior to jumping into our meets.
There's been emails in the past about that,
Yes,
so I don't understand. I don't have to understand, but I'm confused now. So let's go on with the Hanson and Kimley Horn. Talk about whatever you want to talk about, Brian. And we see you on the TV. I don't know if you can see us. And I assume that's Laura. Is that Laura?
Yes, this is Laura. Hi. Thank
Hey.
you so much for having me.
Okay, Laura's with Kimley Horn, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm not hearing the sound for some reason, but let's just try and keep going. You're here?
Oh,
Tom, we can hear them. She's talking. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, then we're all set. Do we
This,
need a louder?
turn it loud and then we'll
All,
turn it down.
yeah, all the way up.
All right, somebody say something, please. Okay,
Can y'all hear it in the back? Hey, this, Laura, you look like, you're confused. You're not confused. This is the first time we've been able to make this work successfully so far. So,
You're doing great.
okay. So Brian, we'll let you, say whatever you want to as far as a quick update on the project and then get, right into the grants part.
Okay, yeah, so we are, into what we're calling the phase 1B. It's an extension of our initial phase because we weren't able to get all of the, information, that we needed to move this to design. The big thing being, getting acceptance by what the design standard needs to be from the regulatory perspective. So we're moving forward. We also identified some data gaps, that we needed. So, in our current effort right now in phase 1B, we have our pursuits for grant funding, which Laura's going to go into a little bit more detail about. We've begun working on our incremental analysis, which is doing the hydrology and hydraulic analysis of the lakes to help inform what a proper design should be. So we're able to pull up some of the previous modeling that was done during the emergency action plan, which was funded by the Dam Safety Office, and use that. There's still some files we're missing. We're trying to coordinate with the engineer that did that to get some of those, and but we're able to do some initial work on that. And then the other things we've done, field work. We've had our surveyors out there for acquiring some of the additional data related to topography, some additional features of the dams, right-of-way, utilities, tree identification. So they completed their field work, I believe at this point, and are working on processing the data in office. So we expect to have that complete by the end of the month. And then the other field work that was taking place was the geophysical testing that was done on the different dams. And again, that field work is completed. It's in the office being processed, and we'll do some analysis on that and provide us a report on what their findings were. And we expect that also by the end of February. So that's pretty much where we're at now. We identified this meeting early on as a good point for us to bring up what we've done so far with grant funding, what looks most promising, direction that we think is probably the best path to go down to see, what types of money we can get to assist, the district with mainly with the, funding for the construction. So Laura's our expert on that. She's, I don't have her biography in front of me, but she's got a career, behind her and going through these efforts, working with state and federal agencies. And so that's why we have to go on board. So I'll turn it over to Laura and let her, present the information that she has.
Great, thank you so much. Just a little background, you have over 20 years of experience working in the grants arena, both writing and grant administration. I came to Himmelhorn from the city of Sarasota. I was there for 7 years and was able to help them bring in $27 million for various projects. It's a pleasure to work with the board, and this is a worthy cause. I won't say it's been easy to find funding because there is such a specific grant niche that we're looking for. And I think our best opportunity, the state, they were not able to manage that or administer that grant. But I'll get to that in just a minute. I thought it might be helpful just to kind of go over the third-party funding matrix that I provided to you. There were 3 funding categories under that: grants, appropriations, and loans. And a grant basically is a competitive discretionary grant. There's typically a match involved. They could be block grants, formula grants, project grants. There's entitlements. There could be a continuation of a grant. It might be such a worthy cause at the funding agency that they deem it appropriate to provide additional funding. Of course, you have your foundational grants and corporate grants. Appropriation requests are a little different, and you will see during this year that you'll see a lot more politically democratic Congress people who are going to back any type of funding. It's probably kind of fortunate that Congresswoman Kemp is no longer in the district because she was not supporting any appropriations. Aaron Bean, I have been in touch with his staff. I prepared a 1-page marketing tool to show in brief details because they are so busy in DC. They want it simple, just to show them the need and what we're asking for and asking for support. I'm waiting to hear back from Congressman Bean's legislative aide to schedule a meeting between the board, having Ryan there, and then I could be there if you would like to have that face-to-face conversation just to try to get his support, garner his support. I know appropriation requests this year are going to be around $3 million, so that would be approximately a third of the project, which would be helpful. That's something that I'm continually working on, and in fact, I emailed again today and staying in front of them. And then I have an old friend who's actually an lobbyist in DC, just trying to give me some direction, the best route to go without lobbying on their behalf, of course. But then appropriation requests, basically, we would be going after a congressionally directed spending request. What they do is they basically support what the project funding is for without having any interest in it as far as any monetary interest or anything like that. So it looks like we might be able to get this through. There's a 1% cap on the spending for these items. So that's why it's typically this year around $3 million. The next area that I outlined for you were loans, 3 different loan opportunities. And I'm trying to stay away from loans only because you'll have to repay them. The first one was the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act program, or what they call WIFIA. And then it's based on population community sizes, and the loan amount is 49% of the eligible project cost, but there's a $25,000 application fee along with that. So, again, try to steer away from that because the other one was the State Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act program, SWIFIA. They're all kind of related. And again, that application fee was $25,000 with a 1-year timeline. The third one is the Army Corps Infrastructure Program, CWIP, and their current appropriations enable them to provide $7.5 program is open to projects or bundles of projects that have a total cost of 20 million or more. So it looks like this project's gonna be less than that, so then that would not be an appropriate match to go after. As I mentioned earlier, well, the direction I was seeking the board was to try to get the appropriations request and also to get in touch with the Army Corps in Jacksonville for this Section 205 funding, which they have funded dam projects before. As I mentioned earlier, Tracy Woods, the dam safety officer for the state, she sent an email, I believe, on January 20th, stating that they were going to be able to administer the grant through the Florida Department of Emergency Management. And I think that's a really good way for us to position ourselves, because she's already aware of our issues with the dams, our needs, and in my opinion, I think that's probably the best route to go, given that the appropriation request and the funding from Army Corps does not come through. And it looks like last year that opened in May and closed in June, so there's a very short time frame to get this application together for you. We want to prepare a robust application. They're already aware of us. We're staying in front of them. So I'd like to work on that, to look at what last year's notice of funding opportunity looked like and what we need to have in order so that when it opens, that we can just go ahead and start the application process. The individual I've been speaking with the Army Corps is Milan Mora. He is a professional engineer. He's over the Water Resource Branch. He is very difficult to get in touch with, and I've outlined 2 different emails that I've sent to him because he is aware of the issues that Lake Asbury has been experiencing over the years in the high hazard category that has been labeled. The Section 205, they fund up to $10 million, and they actually provide 100% funding for feasibility studies. So that's why I'm trying to get him to buy in as well, so that we can go ahead and try to have garner some more funding for this project. Any questions?
Do you have this summarized in a PowerPoint, something that we
I
could see?
don't. I can do that for you. I can do basically a couple of pagers and get that out to you tomorrow morning, if that helps. Would you want me to send it to Janet and then she can distribute to you?
Sure, I think it would help those of us who are more visual.
Okay. I can certainly do that, of course. I think something else that came to my attention having to do with your SAM account. And I can help you with that. I don't know if it's expired, but I believe a previous board member was in charge of that. And I did reach out to Janet and let her know that I can help her and you with that to make sure that you're active so we can apply for this funding through grants.gov.
It is still active, it expires March the 2nd. So,
It's active until March the 7th.
March the
That's good.
2nd, yes.
Okay. I'll go ahead and schedule that if you're okay with it, or to get with Janet and just go ahead. You have to reapply annually with Sam. They want to make sure nothing's changed. And then we'll be good to go when this opens up, hopefully in May.
I believe we need a board motion to allow Hanson and Kimley Horn to pursue the SAM's application.
Before we have a motion, let me ask a question. I guess you're making a motion?
No,
No, you said you.
it was a
need
statement.
one.
It was a statement.
Laura, is that included in your scope of supply under,
Yeah, the scope of work is to walk you through it, and I can go ahead and do that. If you want me to do that with Janet, I can pull it up in Teams where she can see what I'm doing. So that next year you know what to do. And they send you an email to remind you to go ahead and basically update your information annually.
okay, well, my question was the dollars part of it. You know, is that an additional charge, or was that included in the scope of supply?
It's included. We're more than happy to help you out.
Then we don't really need a motion, do we?
Okay,
appreciate you doing that too.
Yes, sir, my pleasure.
I'm sure Shirley does, 'cause she explored her area. Matt was helping her. That's good. So, when Tom asked about, some kind of a PowerPoint or just summary email or whatever, we've got some different people on the board now, and I'm not sure that all of us got your 3 or 4 page, where you listed 9 different possibilities, I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's kind of what you talked about tonight, was the grants, the appropriation request, and the loans. All right. I may be the only one that's confused, but we have a fairly sizable project here, and I know, I was impressed with Hanson and Kimley Horn in pursuing the grant options. And I would imagine we've got a room full of 20, 30 people here. The assessment on taxes went from $600 a year to $2,400 a year in October. Up to $2,400. It doesn't say $2,400 is so
Yeah.
at some point in time, we're gonna have to zero in on, do we need a loan or not? From a cash flow standpoint, at least. We don't know for sure if we're gonna get any grants or appropriation request approval. We don't know anything about that yet. And so, if there's anything that you can do to help us along those lines, then we would appreciate it.
Yes, sir, I'm happy to, and that's something else that we can address with Congressman Bean's office as well, because they can assist with that, to basically ensure that we have a line of credit set up. So it's kind of a two-part thing. They do have appropriated funds that they will support for specific projects. In my opinion, this is a need for this project, and that would be the $3 million. But any types of loans, could be your match for any of the grant funding or the appropriation request, because those are federal dollars.
Okay, so
And
that's,
a loan is,
go ahead.
yeah, the loan wouldn't be considered, basically, it could be used as a match.
Okay, that's good. I don't want to do all talking. Any questions, comments? Jerry? No. Right? What about Mr. Attorney?
No.
It's okay.
Oh, no, as long as everybody do say I'm good.
Tom, good? Matt?
Good.
Jen?
I'm good.
Huh?
I'm good.
Tom?
I
Carrie?
have a couple. The original list of grant possibilities that we got, I went through those and looked at them, and it didn't seem like a whole lot of them really matched up to what we're doing. Maybe I misunderstood that. And maybe it would help us all if you would send us a revised list and show how you think we fit in it.
What's the date on the one you're looking at? Because I
It was-
realized it.
Okay, it was the original paperwork that we got when we were considering Hanson, and then right after that, we got that document. And I don't have it with me, so I can't tell you the date of it, but it's the only one I've ever gotten.
Okay, there was a revised one that was done, I had, because of the corresponding, that was added, and then I people and look for any type of funding for the dam projects. And I haven't seen anything come out today. What I can do is just, if I could just give it to Janet and make sure that you're given that information. She's my point of contact, if that works for you, along with the information we discussed tonight.
And that really works well, and that will help the new members of the board also to get up to speed as to what we're looking at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just pulled out the October 2022 report. I think that's in there, but I'm not positive.
The original one.
Because it's phase one engineering investigation report. I think it had something about grants and all in there too. Maybe not. But I can help somewhere in this folder. Oh, here it is.
She's sending us an updated list.
It's July 7th, 2022.
Probably the
Does it
first
look
one.
like that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
that's it.
Y'all-
That was that was the original one, and then there was a revised one that was submitted. I believe that was either August or September, I think.
Well, you probably should send Janet the latest one, and then Janet can distribute it to
That's fine.
the board.
Okay, I can-
'Cause,
Certainly do
I'm
that.
fairly certain this is the last one I saw. And if it's not, then we'll have it updated, so that's good. This is maybe for Brian more than you, Laura, but do you have all the information will you have all the information you need by the time this comes up in May with the state? Will you have enough information design-wise, cost estimate-wise, and all that to be able to proceed with the grant application or not? Brian's muted.
I think you're on mute.
You're muted, Brian.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
The question would be how much detail is gonna be needed when we do, make an application for grant. So if we apply in this, May to June, window for that grant, will they need to have like design plans associated with that, or can we have concept level? Because we already have a concept level cost estimate. So we know in the ballpark, but we could fine tune some things, especially by that time frame. We'd be finishing up this phase 1B, and one of our end products of this phase is to put together some concept CAD drawings so that we have a visual of at a high level of what is being proposed. So, but I don't know how much is needed for the application.
I'm going to review the notice of funding opportunity that came out last year. When Tracy said that they were going to be able to support it, I followed away. So I'd like to be able to review that, and then I can send an email just outlining basically what that notice is speaking to as far as what's needed.
So we think we should be able to meet whatever the application requirements are. If we don't have it already, we'll work to get something pulled together to support the application.
Typically, after the award is given and NEPA has been completed, then they outline what they want to see by specific dates, whether it's 30, 60, 95% plans. And then they review them and get back with us.
Okay, that's good. Stick your hand up if anybody's got any questions. No? Anybody in the audience wanted to put something down in writing, ask any questions? No? For clarification, for all of us, Laura, you and Kelly Smith, who had talked to this group before, I believe you were on the record as having said that you're trying your best to get us grant and grant funding and funding, however you get it, to cover the entire scope of the project. Is that right?
I am trying to, but typically with, for instance, the dam program that we will be looking to apply to in May, there is a match that well as the grant.
Okay, we really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Do you or Brian have any questions for the board?
I just appreciate you having me tonight.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being on, and
Did this, Teams format work out? I don't know what, are we on the big screen, in your?
you and Laura are sharing half of an 85-inch screen. I think it's an 85-inch.
We're bigger than life.
We even noticed that you were muted while ago.
Well,
So,
this is great. I can hear a lot better than the first time I was on the phone. But I get to see you too, so that's wonderful.
And we do have, I have the previous version as well. I'm at home right now, so I don't have, all my files at work, but I can show you, if we have the screen there, you should be able to see
That's
the grant funding matrix that Kinley Horn produced a while back. And so these were a lot of the opportunities that she was talking about, the grant that had to exceed $20 million. It's the State Water Infrastructure Finance Act. And then
with the Environment Service Board. And the hazard mitigation grant is going to be opening, but they're being very specific about what will be eligible projects, and dams are not one.
okay.
So this was recently found out.
And we've got the appropriations request that you mentioned with the new representative being replacing Cat.
And that would be the next page, that's the senators. Because they're not supporting any appropriation requests this year. And at the time that this was put together, we didn't know. So, and then there's the National Dam Safety Program, which was one of the programs we were looking at last year. Again, this is through the Department of Homeland Security, and we applied to the state. It's a pass-through, still federal dollars. And then the state reviews, and then they submit the state application to them for funding. And this is what Tracy's talking about, supporting us on, because they're gonna be able to administer that as a grant. I think it's on down from that one. Brian, let me see. The high hazard potential grant dam is the one she's talking about, that FDEM, Florida Department of Emergency Management, will be able to administer this year. And you'll see on that one, it was the match was 75-25, with 25% of the project cost being the match.
do you remember what the limit on it was?
I did not. It does have it on there. You go back, let's see. I just had an example of this when I put this together. I do not, but I will pull the notice of funding opportunity and let you know that.
Yeah, that would be good. I asked that because at one of our meetings, somebody gave a really low number. It sounded odd.
Let's see if I can pull it up really quickly.
No, that's okay. We don't need to. Brian, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But we've had a lot of interest from the board, and we've had a lot of interest from the community on a Gantt chart, and you've done that a couple of different times. We weren't able to show it where it was readable that well. I sent the one that you changed the font on to the board people, and it's better, but we still need to figure out how to communicate things to the entire community better than we're doing. We as a board do. And so I was wondering if you could pull that up. Yeah, there you go. That's the first, there's 2 pages, right? That's the first page? Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
first page, January or June.
Yeah.
And then the second page, I think I tried to squeeze this so it would be as large as possible on July, we kind of set as a dead period, because that would be the end of phase 1B, and then figure out what our next steps are. But then, say we picked it back up in August, and then going out through construction. The further out, in my mind, I made the colors lighter because it starts to get, you're really projecting out there where the confidence level starts dropping as to how accurate the time is. But ballpark, depending on how we do these, if we end up constructing, having one construction on all three dams at the same time versus constructing one dam, say we started with the North Lake Dam, and then completed that, and then maybe the next season moved on to the second dam, and then the following season third. So depending on how those things work out, definitely impacts the timeline. But I think for this example, I made the assumption one at a time, starting with the North Lake Dam.
Okay, thanks for pulling that up. The blue, under the blue is kind of what's going on right now. That's the survey, and that's the GeoView hydraulic type stuff that was testing that was going on. So that's where we're at there. That he's pretty firm on. When you look at the calendar on the top, when you get into the second page, it goes from month at a time to quarter at a time because your uncertainty is more. Yeah, so this will be updated on a regular basis. We'll see if we can figure out how to get a bigger representation of this so that the community can take a look at it too. If you got any ideas on that, well, we're open to that too. We don't have to solve that here tonight.
Well, what I've got on now, it's stretched out to, when I print it out, I think it looks all right on an 8.5 by 14 legal size sheet of paper. It's pretty legible. When you put it on regular letter size paper, it does get squeezed down. It's still legible, but it does get a little smaller. If you put it on 11 by 17 paper, it's definitely easy. That'd probably be the best format. It's just what you print it to.
Okay. All right. So, we shall, can you, is it asking too much to ask you to print one on 11 by 17 and you do it? Okay, never mind, Brian. Carol is volunteered to do that.
Carol, if you run into any issues, I'll print an 11 by 17, or I can plot it to 24 by 36.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
It's not an issue, we don't need to.
Okay, we don't need you to do that. We got more than adequate help here today. Thank you very much. Okay.
So I did pull up the notice of funding opportunity from last year, and all they had was that the available funding was $22 million. Typically, the annual appropriation for that is $11.6 million, but through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funding, they were adding an additional $10.3 million. And again, we don't know what's changed with the upcoming notice that's coming out. I will go through that with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything is spelled out and that we're hopefully ready to apply. And I'll get with Brian too as far as what's needed as far as plans are needed.
When might be the earliest? When might we hear some positive feedback on these grants? Is this a 3 month, 6 month, 9 month? What kind of timeline are you on?
Well, it depends on the agency. But unfortunately, they're understaffed too, and a lot of these programs are still, they've been noticed that these are coming down the pipe, and the guidance hasn't been released, so they haven't released them. It could be 8 months, it could be 4 months, it just depends on the staff and what they're doing as far as reviewing each application.
Okay, thank you.
We did a Safe Streets for All, I think we submitted those in, I want to say November, and then, it wasn't November, it was October, I believe. And they announced this week
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody on the board have anything else? Carol?
I have one for Brian, but I can wait. Unless if we're through with the grants.
Well, he's covering both. He gave us a quick overview on the status.
Brian, when you said that, once we have gone through and completed what we approved on the 1B, that you would be able to give us perhaps a conceptual design, is that my understanding?
They will need you to restate the question. 'Cause
Okay.
they come across.
Earlier, we know we funded or agreed to 1B, and that's in the process right now. When that is completed, I think what you said is that you might be able to give us a conceptual design.
At the end of phase 1B,
Yes,
yeah, that's our goal, that's in our scope. Once we get through it and get approval, at least some type of indication that we're on an acceptable track with the design, then we would look to, if you remember in the meeting in October, we provided a concept level plan just to be able to start to put some idea of funding needs toward it. So I think we came up with it was close to a $9 million estimated construction cost. So we would like to take, and that was based off some of the recommended plans in previous studies. So we'd like to take that and make that more custom to what we're finding and what our agreement is with St. John's River Water Management District and the Dam Safety Office to revise those numbers more specific to the capacity that we're going to expect approval from. So we'll put together some CAD sketches to go with that. Again, they won't be at the construction level by any means, but they'll be able to paint the picture of what we're looking at, and then we'll also update the estimated construction costs associated with that.
okay. Looking at the Gantt chart, are we trying to figure that to be sometime in March?
Can you repeat the question, Alden? It's just, I think this is into the microphone.
To get to a date of some kind, to get to the end of 1B and have the option of seeing some of the conceptual changes to the original plan, is that going to be like in March, or are we looking at April? I can't read that here and really understand that.
Oh, okay. Let me put it back up again. So, yeah, the parts that I'm talking about right here on the developed conceptual design sketches and updated opinion of probable construction costs is this line here. So when we go, oops,
May 19th.
that's a PDF, so it's not staying on it, but we're looking at, this is the month of May, so the second half of May into June is about the time frame we've got that estimated.
Okay, thank you, that's what I wanted.
That would be really one of our last step there in this process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Norm, I think you had the same question. You said as we pursue grants and appropriations, do we have a shovel-ready conceptual design should a quick appropriation become available? And that is just what he just talked about on the Gantt chart is no, we don't, because we don't have we have not got design criteria approved through St. John Water Management District yet. Is that correct, Brian?
Right, yeah, we'll get that, we're gonna meet with them, here shortly, once we get all the field data pulled together. We have a verbal agreement from our prior meetings that this is the process that they ideally like to see, where we do the incremental analysis. We look at downstream damages, looking at various breaches based on various sizes of the replacement infrastructure with the spillways and the principal spillways and the emergency spillways. And once we go through that process, actually have a permit at that point, but we will have a documented, level of understanding that we're both in agreement that this makes sense specifically for the rehabilitation of your team.
Okay, Norm, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd like to just point out that there's a difference between federal grants that work on a timetable and direct appropriations. Direct appropriations can fall out of the sky at any time. And if you have your shovel-ready plan ready, you'll get the appropriation. If you don't, it'll go to somebody else. So that's why I'm trying to stress that.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think in defense of Hanson, until we get some kind of agreement with St. John Water Management District, we don't know what we're going to decide. So we can't have a shovel ready until that point. They're moving as rapidly as they can with, and covering all the bases that had maybe been overlooked in the past. I guess I'll say it that way. So, my personal opinion is that Hanson is doing a great job for us. And I think that adding the grants and other funding opportunities is really just icing on the cake for us. So I think that we're going to wind up with a good situation at the end. We started and stopped numerous times in the past, it looks like, and I think we're on the right track. So, one other comment, Laura, from your standpoint, and Janet, is are you coordinating with Janet on the county list that we've got going on?
I coordinate with Janet.
Yes, Laura is aware that we're on the LMS list, but there are some of our projects that as we begin to move towards design phase, we probably want to bring those a little bit more into the rubric and be a little bit more specific with what we're asking, lower those costs down a little bit so that our numbers go up. So if we can break those big projects down into little bitty bites, and fit better in the rubric, I think we can get our number up.
Aren't there some of those projects that are on our county list that are clearly on Laura's list?
Laura is aware of what's on the county list. However, what we have on the county list came from our previous attorney, our previous engineers. And so instead of having those big bites that we have there, we want to pare that down so that we can up that number on the rubric. So instead of having a project sitting on there that's $5 million, we want to bring that down, as low as we can. If we can bring it up down to 500,000 or lower, we have better possibilities.
And you can also stack grants, not replace grants with what you have already for funding, the planting, but you can stack grants for different elements of the project.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Brian, you and Laura, we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us tonight. Thank you for the update and continue the good work.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Tom, I would like to thank you for doing a good job of getting this thing set up for the meeting. That was much better than, that's pretty impressive, I think. All right. One in a row? So, okay. So now, we've done Hanson update, grant update.
Actually, for grants, I have one more request. And I know this board just loves to meet. I am proposing, for discussion, meeting, a meeting in the sense to do more of a workshop. I need this board's expertise to help me with those LMS items, to get those down and to be more in line with the rubric so that we can get a higher score. This is something that's probably gonna take 2 to 3 hours of going back and forth and kind of picking everybody's brain while looking at the rubric and looking at what potential projects we have coming up. I don't know if we wanna do this now so that we can bring the LMS more in line to what we're actually looking at as far as a project, or whether we wanna wait until he has his meeting with his conceptual designs in May, June timeframe. So this is something I'd like the board to discuss.
Does it have to be done in a meeting, or can it be someone volunteer to do it, or delegate someone to do it? It sounds like it has to be, it doesn't sound like a meeting.
It'll take a couple of people to sit down and hash through it and make it align with the rubric. I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hans, is that if we are discussing, 2 or more of us are discussing anything that could possibly come before the board, which of course LMS will, that we have to consider in a meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you.
If we need meetings to do this, it makes sense.
Does, you went over the county list, I don't know what you call it, LMS list at the last meeting. Did you send a copy of that to all the board members?
I believe I
It
did.
has the list and the dollars?
I believe I did, yes, sir.
If you did, I didn't. I've forgotten it. I would like to see another copy of it. I don't-
The more important part is the rubric,
Is what?
is the rubric, how they grade these LMS projects.
Spell that word.
RUBRIC, rubric.
And this was an email from you?
Yes, yes.
Do you have the grading scale in some sort of an email also?
I do not, I have it in an 11 by 14 sheet of paper.
I can
And-
I can copy it. All I'm saying is, I think we need, in order to be mentally capable of doing whatever we want done, we need to know the list, how it breaks out, how it's graded. We need a conceptual design, because without any of that stuff, we can play all day, and it won't mean anything, because the projects are gonna fall out of conceptual, period. But I wouldn't mind get educating about it before all that happens, so if you wanna send it out to us, we can look at it.
Certainly. Carol, do you have a way to scan and upload an 11 by 14?
Yes.
Okay, I will get it to you, and I'll email you.
Okay.
Make arrangements, I'll get you that. And the other,
Whatever it is that we need to review and read and understand.
Yes, ma'am.
And then once we do, I think we can talk about it intelligently in front of everybody else.
I have a flatbed scanner that'll go 11 by 17 if that will help.
Okay, and I think the LMS sheet, even though I've been able to take snippets of the actual LMS sheet, I think that's also on an 11 by 14, so you don't get it in its entirety.
Yeah, we can-
So, I'll,
Well, his is bigger than mine.
Okay.
Mine goes 11 by 16, but. So,
they're-
whichever is gonna be best. is
Okay.
fine.
I'll get with both of you, whichever one is most quick, we'll do it. Thank you.
So does that mean that you're gonna get copies of it and send it to all the board members? And so we're not gonna make a decision tonight to have a special meeting?
That's what it sounds like to me, yes, sir. We'll get the copies. Tom will probably send them out, since he'll be doing the scanning, or Carol. And then we can look at them, digest them, and we'll talk about them in March.
Now, you probably will get a paper copy of it, rather than us try to send it to you, I think.
We can bring paper to whoever needs it.
Okay. I think we're to the Tom Leahy mowing contract.
We have voted and passed a contract, the renewal contract, and there was insurance questions. So Carol, maybe you could,
Yes.
if we're done with those questions, can we prepare a copy for the board to sign?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, because what happens with contracts and certificates, this is what I got in all the corrections that had to be made. So basically, the poor man didn't even realize that he had occurrence versus claims made. So when you get these, you really have to look at them carefully. That's what I'm here for. I can look at them, I know what's right, what's wrong, what should be there. So I saved him a lot of embarrassment and money because he was handing out certificates about some insurance he didn't have. So, I'm gonna send out a little document to everybody on the board that gives you what insurance, what our decisions have been in 2009, what our insurance should look like coming from contractors and subcontractors. And also, I'll send you out the information on how to look at a certificate. Don't try to do it by yourself. Just send it to me, I'll look at it. And so I saved this man some embarrassment and some money, and it will be covered right in the event that he has a loss. So he's ready to go.
Good, we thank you.
Yeah.
Now, does this spill over into our purchasing document that was prepared? Because there's a list of insurance requirements at the back of it. Do we need to edit that so everybody knows?
I need to look at that, just to be real honest, because I looked at it a long time ago. I need to look at it again.
Okay,
I will.
appreciate it. So that's it. I guess as soon as we have this finalized, we'll get it signed so it's in effect, because the rain will come here shortly. We're gonna need to be mowing.
Right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pence, you're gonna talk about water quality. I would like for you to, if you were thinking about talking about dredging, wait until that is coming up under Carol's, part, so you can talk about permit and card and that sort of thing, but
Larry worked individually, I worked individually, and we both will want to talk about that. But let's let Larry talk about his water quality, because that's so important.
that's what I was thinking, because we need to keep the dredging separate from the water quality issue, I think, for right now anyway.
Well, the first thing,
You got a question you need to.
Yes, sir. Can we take about a 3-minute standing break? It's almost an hour and a half.
Sure.
Is there any problem with interruption of the meeting?
Well,
Before we go on to the next?
anybody can get up and walk out or in anytime they want to, and if you need to.
Okay.
I'd rather not stop the meeting. These things last too long anyway. But if you need to take a break, go
Thank you.
ahead. Go ahead.
well, the first thing on the agenda was the CART permit. Everything has been submitted. And, Chris Boker, who is the biologist, approved the barriers. We told you that last month. And I got an email message from him that we're good to go. Should be set now for approval. Permit this afternoon. Rhonda should issue it soon. This, I got it on February the 1st, and I have not got the permit number yet, but I'm just waiting for her to either call me or text me, and when we get the permit, I've got prices from 3 different vendors, and I'm gonna suggest that we go, because they're different carp sizes, and they range from 9 to 10 inch to 10 to 12,
and 16-inch carp. And I want to go with the 10 to 12. The 9-inch carpfish are it's too much of a chance for predators, fish and birds and everything else to get them, and we're gonna lose some anyway. But with the 9 to 10, I'd like to go with that because they're eating 3 times their body weight each and every day. And I'm a little leery, even though the biologist didn't have a problem with getting the larger fish. I don't think that they will last as long because they're just like people. When they're young, they can eat and eat and eat and eat, and never have a problem. As you get older, you don't eat as much. And that's really what happens to grass carp. They live about 15 to 20 years, but once they reach a point to where they just no longer eat the vegetation the way they should. And I do have a price. I think at the last meeting, you all approved it $4,000, is that correct? Yeah. Is that the number? Yeah. Well, guess what? My cost with the customer for delivery and everything else is $4,336. So is that $336 come out of my pocket or what?
You have to, if we have to modify the approval.
Okay, but anyway, once I get the permit, then we only have, they want 50% of the payment upon delivery. Once everything's completed, then we can write them a check for the other 50%. But that would be the cost if we went with Solitude and got the 10 to 12-inch fish, and we're putting them in North Lake only right now. That's 232 Tipperoid grass carp. That's what we're going to start with. And as we talk to them, the biologist, after 6 to 9 months or 9 to 10 months, if once the grass is in the growing season, if we need to add more, we'll buy more. But that's what we're going to start with. And we're not planning on doing any spraying. Water quality. I called on Mike to see if you had any updated information from the University of Florida.
I'm supposed to get a year-over-year, October to October, but I haven't gotten it yet. But I can tell you just from doing the test, the water quality has improved in both lakes. If you call it water clarity and improvement, it's 12 feet in the lower lake and 8 feet in the upper lake. So
We're getting cleaned up. It's gonna take time, but it is clean to be.
right now, I've only been doing it a short period of time. I haven't done it year over year over year, so I don't know. Like Larry's talking about the water being clear. It could be just the weather. Those 5-6 days of 28-degree weather may be cleaned the lake up, and we haven't done anything. So but the carp are the way to go. You don't want to spray. Speaking of not spraying, I know this is Larry's talk, but you're not going to be happy. I live on the upper lake, so the guys on the lower lake are not going to be happy on the stuff that floats on the top. If you go around now, Larry and I went down every finger on every lake last week when it was. Y'all, the lower lake is pretty clear of the stuff that floats on top, the water lettuce and the hyacinth. But in the summertime, it's going to be back. And those fish aren't going to get anything floating on top. So if somebody's going to go out there and pull them out, it's going to be a problem. Just like down in my Lake Florida, it'll take over. But these fish don't eat that. So I think you're going to have to spot spray or do something for you guys. Yes, ma'am.
Are we looking at services to pull them out?
It's kind of, when they talk about dredging,
Yeah.
yes.
I did the way everybody wants it in, we get 3 different bids, so I got 3 different contractors. I called Gator, because I wanted really somebody in Florida, but I gotta tell you that, the people that was used Merle dredging back in, they did only, Lake Ryan. But they were here and, they're in Kokomo, Indiana. And when I called the young man, he got himself a flight to Jacksonville and showed up Monday and went with Mike and Tim Lay, went with the 3 of us. We went in every single finger all the way to the back to look, what things do look like, the depth of the water, how bad the vegetation is. And then after we did our lake, we went up and got on Mike's pontoon boat and did the same thing on the south lake. So we really do have a good idea of the condition of the lake, and, I would love to deal with him, but he called me this morning, he texted me, and apologized for not having, he was hoping to have a quote of everything, but he didn't have what it was gonna cost him to move all of the materials, machinery, and everything he's using down here. So I was trying to get a hold of somebody in Florida, and, I got a call from, the Gator, dredging people. They no longer do, small bodies of water or housing development or anything like that. So they put me on a Bayside dredging company, talked to the Vice President, Don Shamp, and he's really interested. The only problem I have with dealing with him, we've talked in length, and, he's more than willing to do the dredging. But he doesn't have the machine to take this, water hyacinth up. And that's the first thing that has to be done. We gotta scoop this up, let the water drain off, get it out, and dispose of it. So, and then we can dredge. So I don't know, if, I haven't got a price from him yet or anything like that. Solitude, who I wanna get the grass carp, they're big into spraying. They do have an outfit out of, a company out of Texas that does the dredging. They haven't gotten back to me on what their price would be. So I really don't have a dollar figure for you at that time. They can hear me just well. Anyway.
So I've got a question for you. Have you reached out to county to see if they do any dredging, either in-house or through contractor? If it's a contract, we might be able to piggyback off their contractor. If they do it in-house, we might be able to negotiate something with them.
Personally, I would love to have that contact, because everybody tells me that this problem we have on the south dam of what's that place called?
Hazel.
Hazelwood, yeah.
Hazelwood.
Talking about Hazelwood, to me, that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story, but still, we've been told that that's a county problem. It's not Lake Lot owner's problem. I don't know which is which, nobody wants to claim it. But if I could get a hold of somebody in the county that does dredging, I'd love it. But I do want people to know our biggest issue, but no matter who we get, is, I found out, where are we gonna dump it? When they did the dredging, well, I thought so too, and then there's something to do with, what's the term?
There's two things. I brought it up the other night at the association meeting, just to see what was said. Originally, that was used to fill back there because there was a big hole back there, and they filled it, and they did it. We've been dredging basically every 5 years something. And always it goes back there and sits, and the water runs off, and then they do something with the dirt. Well, it's full. Now we also, because of a recent meeting with the Florida Wildlife and Game biologist, we know that we have 50+ gopher turtles out there in our upland meadow, not in the woods. They don't like the woods because the canopy of the trees keeps the stuff on the ground from producing the kind of food that they like. But the meadow is perfect, and so because there's so much building around us, a lot of them have just migrated to us. And so now we have 50+ of them out there, and it costs them $1 zillion to move them. So that's not an option.
What I don't understand about that, if they're a burrowing animal and we're gonna add more dirt to them.
Because you bring their burrows.
Huh?
You bring their burrows. The burrows themselves can be all the way from 10 feet to 160 feet, and they provide homes for 360 animals or insects that belong to Florida.
Only in Florida.
Well, no, actually, I know more about that than I ever want to, but it also goes up into all over. all of our adjoining states. And, so it doesn't go high up there, but it is all of Florida. And it's terribly expensive, and there's a big fine that goes with it if you don't get the right stuff done. So, I went back, I met with an engineer, we sort of got off water quality. Are we ready? Okay. I met with,
No, we're fine on work quality because we don't have any more information right now.
okay.
Other than the both lakes are clearing up.
So Larry came up with a really great idea after doing all this touring of everything. And part of it, I think, involves Merrill, because they have a scoop to get the hyacinth and all the weed stuff out, which we're now hearing we have to do because it's not gonna stop.
Yep.
All right, so, then you come to the point where,
Can I interrupt a minute?
yes,
Okay, if we're through with water quality, then the next item on the agenda is, Matt.
I'm sorry, we can put this off or it can go on, I don't care which, because it all sort of goes together, but Matt, you put this off for so long, I don't want you to miss tonight.
Oh, I'm not gonna miss tonight. We'll run along. I'm good with continuing if the chairman is.
Just go ahead and finish.
Do you have a contact person?
Thank you.
Let me interject, yes, there is a contact person at the county, her name is Sharice Stewart. Sharice,
And Larry, I got
and it is a contract that they do.
Okay, I'll follow up on it tomorrow.
So anyway, if Merrill Brothers out of Indiana has the scoop that takes the weeds and stuff out, we have to do that first. And then
Then you dredge.
through the dredging, but when he went out and went through all the channels to see where we were at, there was some that was terrible, and then there was some not so bad when the weeds were gone. So what he's projecting is like we do 2 fingers, maybe a year. Now, if we did something like that, there's a piece of land that comes off of Lake Ryan that's not very big, but with all the soil, you have to do a dewatering process. It can't just be put out there. So if we had that little bit of land and not trying to dredge the entire set of fingers, every year we dredge so much, then could it not be possible to sell that dirt to somebody?
We have to dispose of it somehow, but,
We just
from
don't.
what everybody's told me in the dredging industry is that's the costliest part of it,
Yes, it is.
is just disposing of the dirt. It costs you more for that than it does to dig it up. So I'm still working on that. I brought it out because if anyone has any idea where we can dump it and how far we have to travel to do it, let me know, please.
So Larry, or not Larry, Alton last meeting asked if I would start looking through the files and see what I could find on all the dredging. I found a lot of stuff, pretty disjointed, but one thing I did find, and that could save us money, is we have all the surveys from the past. And Larry and I have both looked at them, and basically, you can look at this, which is dated 1995. Our dredging problem is the same today as it was in 1995. Nothing changed, it just filled back in again. So, behind this is the surveys and the amount of spoil that they took out of it to get back to a decent amount of water in the fingers. So, historically, we've got a lot of records that could help us, that we wouldn't have to go out and buy more of. That whoever does whatever dredging is gonna happen needs to look at that little finger of land and see if it's big enough once leveled.
Already done it.
So it's not big enough. So then the next thing we have to do is find somebody who wants to buy the dirt, or we'll give them the dirt or something.
The reason he knew where it was, the young man who showed up, he actually did the dredging on Lake Ryan, and that's where he put it all.
That's where he put it.
Yeah.
That's correct. He did.
It's gone now, but, it's just not big enough to.
But we had a big
Hold it.
pile for years.
Huh?
We had a big pile for
Yeah,
years.
for years, yeah.
The other thing I'm pretty excited about is that in the process of going through back there and looking at old permits as I found them, I started looking at maintenance dredging permits. This is yours, you can have it. I started looking up maintenance dredging permits just to see what was out there. And Larry did the same thing I did, so we both came up with the same one. It's called Nationwide Permit 35, Maintenance Dredging of Existing Basins. It describes our situation just right down to the last letter. We're a combined body of water that is basically a teacup, and we get all the runoff from everywhere. And it's just like Simmons Trail. Somebody cut through Simmons Trail, which is dirt. And they didn't bother to fix the ditches properly to stop the dirt. So what does it do? It washes down Simmons Trail, and it goes right down this concrete spillway to the lake. So I mean, it's like it's a common problem between the county and us as to why it is this way. But this is what we need, because once this is filed and given to us, it gives us the right to every year take out more dredge. In other words, do another finger. So I am not an engineer, but the guy at the end of the table certainly is. And I would very much like to ask if he could take a look at this and see if from an engineering eye, it is the right thing. And if it is, then how do we get it? And if that's a motion needed, I'd like to make the motion.
Well, the last contract that we got for the dredging is 1996.
Yes, and it's expired.
And it's expired. But that's the last time, this dredging in 2015, that was Lake Ryan only. The only thing I've been able to find is the north and the south lake was done in 96. I heard something about 2012.
It's been since then.
Yeah,
It's been since then.
Do you have
I
that?
found it, yeah.
Oh, I didn't, I wasn't able to find that.
I found it. So anyway,
But that permit is expired.
Well, did you find anything from any of the previous district engineers that would have been involved in it?
was it, yes, Merrill Brothers?
No, I'm talking about from the board's district engineers in the past, specifically, who would that have been? Would have been Coy? No, would have been Mike Wimia before that, would have been,
Mike
Mike,
Williams did a
Kelter.
wonderful study, which I cannot find anywhere. And then Mike Kelter was in charge of the Ryan dredging, and he had wonderful records of that. So
Okay, so we have those, you've seen them?
I've seen his record. I have yet to find it back there. Unfortunately, when I go back there and look at those files, somebody's been rifling through the files, and it's, yeah, there you go.
This is a lot of Lake Ryan
Yes.
surveys.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
don't need any information on Lake Ryan.
No,
It doesn't need
we're
dredging.
looking for direct, but I said, we have Lake Ryan. Lake Ryan is the most current dredging that we've done, so we have it.
Okay.
It's the other ones, like when we did the big north and south lake dredges, I couldn't find that.
I have a quick question before I forget about it. Where we stored the dirt before, that appeared to be under the power line right away.
Yeah, yes.
Is that controlled by the utility company or is that a private owner?
It's ours.
Easement.
She says it's ours.
It is ours.
It belongs-
So then if we were to get permits, we can store it there again?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So that's a.
The only drawback is the only company that gives us quotes says it's too small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the truck weighs 77,000 pounds, so it can't go over any dams.
Okay.
and that's a problem.
Can I ask a quick question? The lakes were just super gorgeous many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the
I
county
know.
came in and put in God knows only how many culverts into our lake. So we are now a drainage ditch. All of our lakes are drainage ditches. Okay, they need to be dredged. The county says, we're not dredging your lakes because you went over the natural ditches. Okay, well, the county has a lot of land. Could we not talk to the county about where we can dispose of this dirt, this whatever, on county land somewhere?
Wonderful idea.
I'm sorry?
Wonderful idea. It's another
I mean, the
option.
county has caused this, basically. This, you know, why we need the dredging, because of all these culverts. How they did it, I don't know that, but surely they can come up with some place we can put this dirt.
As long as it's not too far away, because.
Yeah, in Clay County.
And
How
that
about the
is-
expressway? How about the expressway? They're bringing in truckloads of dirt there all the time.
But it has to be, but it's a special kind of dirt. It's not just dirt.
Yeah.
And what we
It's
have.
gonna be much the same as.
When I had the meeting over here at Russell Baptist Church about the roads, whenever putting the roads down, I talked to a county engineer there then, and I said to him, why can't you people dredge out what you put in? And he made it clear to me that we put our lake on top of their natural ditches and they were not responsible. I said, how can you say you aren't responsible when you're dumping everything off of Henley Road? And I live on the lower lake, far finger down there, okay? And they've been dumping into the end of that finger for how long?
And all the way
It
down.
used to be this deep, now it's this deep.
I know. I'm in the
Okay,
same.
and I live halfway
position. I
back,
agree.
but he made it clear to me they will not dredge. So my question would like to be, all right, you won't dredge it, we have to dredge your dirt out, why can't we put it on a county landfill? There's a county landfill down there, why can't we put it there? They bring it into here, why can't we take it back to them?
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea, and maybe when you talk to the person down there in the county, you can bring that up, because I do know the landfill has spots where they have put dirt, but I don't know that that's what they're doing. But there's also some spots over off of Masters Road where I know they dump stuff. So maybe that's a good idea. And it's costly to get there, but it's a place to put it, yeah.
This stuff has to go somewhere, if we don't do something about it, we're gonna have no lake.
We don't want it.
And I argued years ago about putting so many carp in here. I told them then at the meeting, you people keep putting carp in here by 1,000 at a time, they're gonna eat all the vegetation out, we're gonna have a stagnant mud hole.
And that's what happened.
That's what we have. Where are the hyacinths coming from? Is somebody bringing the hyacinths in on a boat trailer or something?
Yeah, more than likely, yes.
I mean, they don't just appear out of the
But
sky.
you're right,
Hyacinths don't-
they overstocked in the grass carp ruins lake, let me tell you that. The reason it was so pretty and everything else was a high grow. You have to maintain it, you gotta lower the lake and clean it up. Each and every year or every other year, that's what you have to do. That's what we want to probably do here anyway. But when we went around, what I asked them to do to give me a price was to dredge to where every boat dock, every slip would have a minimum 4 to 5 foot of water right out in front of them. Is that right?
That's correct. All the way to the back of the fingers, it would be 4 to 5 foot deep.
Plus 5 feet away from the lands and bulkheads.
Yeah.
You have to be
Oh, yeah, that's
15
another
foot
thing we asked
away.
about that. It will not, when they dredge, it will not be any closer than 5 foot from your bulkhead. We don't want anything caving in on it.
But if we're putting bulkhead in on this dam and widening the bulkhead, we could probably use a lot of that sand for backfill.
Yeah.
We get rid of a lot of it if it's compatible with what we need to backfill the slurry.
The problem with that is it has a lot of organic material in it, which makes for poor fill dirt, because over time, your organics break down, and so you get uneven compaction, and you get dips and lulls, and it's just not good for that purpose.
I would like to add, there's probably no one here that has the situation, but, it was 2 weeks ago now, I had a gentleman who lives on the South Lake, I'm not gonna mention his name, come to me and he said, I understand you're gonna be doing some dredging. So we'd like to be able to take care of everybody. He said, well, how about getting people to build bulkheads so we don't have the same runoff problem that we have every time we turn around? And he said, I don't care, but he said, there are too many people around with no bulkheads, and you're dredging, wasting money for nothing.
We have a bulkhead problem, we have people, sawing down trees and letting them fall in our channels. That doesn't help us at all. And I'm serious, right across from me, they just pushed a big tree off into the.
We're supposed to be working on that.
So, one thing I think, and this isn't for us, but this is for Lola, who manages these things. There needs to be some rules about how we manage our land to keep our own runoff from getting in there and trees pushing into the lake. I mean, if we don't stop it somewhere, what are we going to do? Keep doing this?
Well, I agree, it
Just
should
for
be
clarity,
Lola, but maybe Lola could come up with some fines
Well, I
for
don't
doing
know.
these
just for
certain
clarity, I
things.
talked to Lola about that specific tree you're talking about.
What happened?
I told her, it's on there.
Well,
The property owner should be responsible for the tree that's falling into the lake. That's over its slough.
yes, it is, but I didn't do it. Anyway, can I get back to this?
My question was for Mike, did you say that the dump trucks cannot go over the dam?
No, I asked him how much they weighed full, he said 77,000 pounds.
So they have to then, the dirt cannot be removed from.
And we're a long way from dredging. You have to have a place for him or whoever the dredging needs to stage their equipment, it can't be near power lines, because you already got a great big old supply line. So we're gonna have to find places for stage his equipment and find a place to put the dirt and not the one over the dam.
Bill can get the grass carp in there right away, as soon as I get the permit number, I will call them and order them, and we'll take it out, but, the dredging is gonna be a little longer than what I would like it and everybody else do.
And prior to that, we have to handle the hyacinths, yeah?
Right, yeah, we'll either, I know this meeting's not going the way it's supposed to, this is not the way the county does it, no matter what. The stuff float on top, I've talked to 4 or 5 people around here, they wanna get out there and do it, you know, get a few boats out there and pull out, because I don't think it's gonna be, I just went on those lakes, there's not that much out there to be, I think relatively easy to pull out. When me and Larry got that quote about guy pulling out, because I don't think anybody will ever help me. I think it'd be like, they'll say, yeah, I'll come, and nobody will come. Yeah. So that's why we're getting, and you know, I'd spray it. Yeah, that's what I do. Because people's never gonna go out there and pick it up, so I pick it in my boat all the time. You're not gonna pick up them mountains out there, to me, you're gonna have to spray it. Because you're never gonna get a group of people together on this lake to go out there and pull it out.
That's what I do, I got about 45 pounds out of it the last 2 days, just taking my fishing net and getting it out and go out fishing, but, it's a long way from what needs to be done.
What kind of vegetation does the grass carp eat?
Southern
What
naiad.
kind of vegetation do grass carp eat?
Southern naiad and
Really,
hydrilla.
the southern naiad and hydrilla, and if nothing else is around, they're gonna eat it. I don't like it, but they're gonna eat our eelgrass. Because the eelgrass, believe it or not, guys, is what's gonna clean this lake up and get it back like Rick had it before. So you can pull it up if you want to, but I suggest you leave it.
So do we have a lot of hydrilla and southern naiad for the grass carp to eat?
We have a lot of southern naiad.
Yeah, the southern naiad is rampant right now. And that's a year ago, that wasn't in there, that had to be brought in here too. That was not in your lake a year ago. You didn't have a blade of grass a year ago, anywhere.
South Lake is pretty clean, and that's because they don't put boats in and take out as often as they do the North Lake. And the boats are not clean when they go to other waters before they come back in ours. So whatever they had, wherever they were, they bring it back, and now we have it. I'm not saying that's the whole problem, but it doesn't help.
So Larry, I just wanted to circle back. You were originally, I can't recall where we left off. Did you want to make a motion for additional funding at this time? Or to change the amount? Because I remember the last time we made a motion specific to the size of the fish.
Yeah, right.
So if you want to change that, make a motion, I'll second that.
I'd like to make the motion that we go with, the 10 to 12 inch. Hold on a second. Get my right. 10 to 12 inch, grass carp, and the price will be $4,300, here it is, $4,336.
How long is that quote good for?
Beg your pardon?
How long is that quote valid for?
90 days.
Okay. And we should be able to make that happen.
These people want to deal with it because they want, where they gonna make their money, and I don't want them to do it, I'm gonna tell you, I don't. We may have to, but I don't want to spray anything. all that's gonna do is kill it off, and it's gonna go right to the bottom, and the lake is crappy. It's already getting that way, but,
You made a motion.
huh?
You made a motion.
Yes, I made a motion to increase the dollar amount from $4,000 to $4,336 for the grass carp.
Okay, you made a motion, Matt? you
Second, yep.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any
How
opposed?
many carp per acre are you?
The biologist
But
recommends.
the biologist recommended two. I was originally gonna put 4, and he said, you don't wanna do that, we're gonna go with 2, and then if we need more, we'll put them in.
Okay, may I have the moment, please? We said we had a procedure that we were gonna follow, and I've let it go on, and we haven't followed that procedure. The procedure needs to be that if you got a question and you wanna comment, then you write it down on a piece of paper, and then we'll recognize you and you do it. But we haven't done that. So we've sat here for, it's not that it's been unfruitful discussion, but we need to follow the procedure if we're gonna have one. And Carol, we're not done yet, because you had one more thing at least on, dredging.
It's, I don't know if you want me to make a motion or not, but it's a request right now. Larry and I both found this permit. It looks like what we need, but we need somebody like Matt to look it over and, find the flaws if there are any, and then tell us how we get it filed for.
Is that, it's not an existing permit, it's one that's,
This is
you
one.
think we should be able to apply for or something?
Right, we can apply for it. We don't have a permit right now because everything we found is expired.
Do we have any examples of even the expired ones?
Yes.
Have we found those? So you could use an expired one compared to that one?
We
Somebody
did.
could do that?
We did. This is more in depth than the old one was. The old one was very old. It has the same things in it, only expanded a little bit. So we have both of them available. If not, we'd like to have both of them.
This is good, this is written up for, February 25th, 2022, the expiration date is March 14th, 2026.
And you can review
And
it.
it's for permit number 35, which is a dredging permit.
Do you want the old permit as well as the new permit to look at?
I don't mind looking at it. I'm not a permitting guy. I'll look at it from a technical perspective, but my feedback is gonna be somewhat limited. Who are we permitting with? Is that DEP?
It would be DEP as far as I know.
Okay.
Everything I read looked that way.
So at the very least, I can give you a good DEP contact to reach out to for questions.
You have the old permit. You have the old one, would you like have it?
The one from 96?
Yes. Okay. You can either give us a name that we can go to, and we'll go to them direct, or you can look at, I would like your opinion.
Sure, I'll look at it, and if I don't have anything constructive to say, I'll say that.
Well, hand that down to him, and then we'll get you the old
Oh
one.
my God.
Carol, would you be opposed to running it by Mike Kelter? He's on our advisory group.
I did.
Did he
I
respond?
know Mike, yes. He says it's very good.
He did respond?
Yeah.
Okay, so he should have been able to give you the previous permits?
Remember that he's kind of arm's length from me. I can go back to Mike if you want me to.
He's double arm's length from me. I mean, I didn't say that, but
I'm saying, you know, I don't mind if I can ask Mike a question and he'll respond. It's just he's very busy. And so what little time I got, I
no,
felt
that's
less.
fine. Tammy Liga?
Pardon me?
Yeah, I got work till 34.
So you're gonna look for it, Matt, and then give it back, and then we'll see Mike later, and Mike will tell us a little bit of time.
Sure, absolutely. I'll get feedback to you within a week on this.
The other thing I did find from all the files is Mike Blaney did a really good study. I cannot find it. I know his son is in business with him, I don't know if it's worth pursuing that or not.
Study on dredging?
A study on, yes, the dredging, and he had some surveys done.
I have,
You saw it in the past, but you don't know where, you can't find it now, is that what you're saying?
I've got one more time back there that I haven't been in, but that's what I've learned.
Okay.
I have a thumb drive here from Carl. Here's all Mr., how do you pronounce it? Wayme's, there's a whole folder here of Wayme documents.
Okay.
What exactly are you looking for?
Any history about actual studies he did when he was doing that.
I can't hear you.
I'm looking for the studies, anything useful toward what we need to get done.
Okay.
And also the surveys, if we can find surveys, we don't have to get surveys again.
Okay, so we don't need any motions or anything, Matt's gonna volunteer to look at that. Mark, Wantage would like to make a comment, I'm glad he's here, because there's stuff going on with dredging in the county, so Mark, you wanna give us an update on it?
Yes, thank you. There's been a group that's been, residents that have been working with the county for the last several months. We've had a couple of meetings, and there's another meeting scheduled for the 16th of this month. Several members of the committee are...
Mark, can you
Oh.
go over there and turn Larry's microphone on? That's
a good example.
We need to record us.
I'll sit down and speak, okay? Better than bending over to this thing. There is a group of lake residents that have been working with the county for the last 8-10 months, I guess now. And several of the members of the committee actually have been or are now on the board, the Lambsville board. And our next meeting is, I believe, the 16th of this month. Excuse me. And one thing I wanted to say is that, of course, we can adjust the makeup of the committee. Anybody that's interested in being part of that is possible. But I just want to caution against multiple people calling the county and talking to them about the dredging. Principally for the, it's good information. I think it's necessary to do the research. It's important. But you don't want to necessarily show your hand to the county before you're ready to start negotiations with them. We stand a very good chance, in my opinion, of getting the county to do some of this work. We've made good progress. They have a study coming out. And so I think we need to give them an opportunity to say what they're going to do, and then we can push back against that, because there is this consensus that there's runoff, illicit runoff coming into our lake systems, and that the county needs to take care of that. So far, the relationship and the conversation has been very positive with the county. We'll see what happens when they get the report. Part of the results that we got from citizens showing up at the county commission meeting and meeting with the county officers and engineering group is that we were made the lion's share, actually the lion's share, but they carved out a part of their county water management study specifically towards the Lake Asbury drainage system. So that's a positive. Research is excellent. That really gives us a good history and gives us a leg to stand on. But I think that we really want to tackle this problem at the source and mitigate it as much as possible, and then do the dredging. Because we don't want to toss money into the lake and then just have to do it again in another 5 years. So that's really where we're at on this. So that's my comment.
Well, I appreciate that. I went to one meeting that they had, and the county commissioner, Kristen Burke's been active in that. So she's in tune with what's going on and supportive. Their district engineer and county engineer and other people in those departments are involved. There is, like Mark said, a watershed study being done for Lake Asbury, and then there's another one being done for the entire county, the way I understand it. And we may know a guy that's involved in the Lake Asbury watershed stuff. I haven't talked to him lately, but, there was a guy that, used to live here. His company was sub to Jones Edmonds Associates, who's the county's using for, the overall project. And I think his company got, the watershed study part for Lake Asbury. So there's some good things going on there, it seems like.
When is the study supposed to be finished?
We're supposed to have an update as to what's going on the 16th of this month.
Update, but not finished.
We'll wait to see what they present to us.
So, Mark?
The expectation is that they'll be finished with our portion, and they'll be giving us information, and then that gives us a point to really begin discussions and negotiations.
So the 16th meeting is a county commissioner meeting, or this
No,
private meeting?
That's a meeting between this group, which is an online group, and the county.
Okay.
And so it's all it's Sharice Stewart, all the managers and principal people.
So it's a
within the
closed
agency.
meeting?
I'm sorry?
It's a closed meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you're not inviting people to come?
It's not a public meeting. This is a meeting of a group of people that we cobbled together that was interested in participating in this. And so that's where we are in this progress.
Thank you.
It sort of seems like you should have had somebody from this board on it. Maybe we have that now, I don't know.
Since the beginning, we've had board members. But again, this is a public, this is just groups of people getting.
We're not aligned.
You're not aligned.
And people were invited. Some said yes, some said no. Some were board members, some were not.
I didn't get an invite.
Carol, please don't take it personally that I didn't invite you. It was something that I put together quickly.
I am sitting here with the worst finger in the world. If besides Hazelwood Hall, I think I would have been a good addition.
Well, Hazelwood is getting lots of good mention.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
The invite was sent to everybody, you chose not to attend.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate you updating that. Okay, so we're done with the dredging part then? Both Larry and Carol. Anybody on the board have any other questions?
Are we gonna circle back to that?
Yeah, we're gonna circle back to Matt. We're gonna go to Matt. We're gonna go to Matt right now. Are we on dam operations protocol? That's right there.
Yep, we'll start with that. As I mentioned in the email to you guys, basically this is pulled together from meeting the minimum requirements set forth in the permit for the South Lake upgrade. There was an O&M schedule that was filed with the permit. This protocol meets that minimum, and in some places may exceed it, but at no place is it less than that. So it does not conflict with that protocol. It also drew some inspiration from our existing EAP. That some members may feel that's not a good thing or is a good thing, whatever the case is. That's sort of what inspired parts of it. But I'll open to anybody who has questions about the draft that I sent out last month.
Yeah, I got one about, regardless of the stage of Clayton County recently appeared the Hurricane Center, that the uncertainty that they'd be open 50%. I've only been here 7 years, but I was here in 2017, and it's not done equally, in my opinion. The North Lake, they opened it up and did just like this last time, when it cut across and we didn't get hit. If we hadn't gotten that rain, we still wouldn't be back to normal. You know? And my only problem with it is if they were so accurate, there wouldn't be, what's that, European scenario? And,
sure.
Yeah. So, you know, I'd like to see them
if you're in charge of it, more responsible about waiting and see where it's gonna hit before you start letting water out and.
So I hear what you're saying, and that makes sense. And the cone of uncertainty, for anyone who doesn't know, it represents a 5-day, two-dimensional area that represents up to 80% of the error of previous models and previous storms.
Right.
So that says, okay, they said this model was going to go this way, this way, this way. If we capture 100% of that area, okay, that's everything. But if we only capture 80% of that error, that creates an area, and then we call that the cone of uncertainty. So obviously, it doesn't always go where they say it's going to go, and I say that tongue in cheek because it's usually more wrong than right.
Yep.
The issue we face is we have a decision that we can be too conservative or not conservative enough. And the risk of being too conservative is we let out water and the lakes are low for a while. The issue, especially with our dams in the state that they're in, of not being conservative enough is that there could be a dam breach. And if there's a dam breach, the consequences of that could be not just immediate in terms of lost property, but that we may have a state and a county that look at us and say, no, maybe we don't need a dam there anymore.
I know.
So that's kind of, we have to balance those risks. And I felt like we struck a good balance here, but if you have, what I don't want to do is I don't think any one member of the board, me included, should say, okay, we're going to put all of our faith in that person, because that puts that person unfairly in the position of being responsible. And if they make a mistake, they'll make a mistake on behalf of the board.
Yeah.
So.
And I'd also like to see that the North Lake valve is open, South Lake valve is open in accordance with the North Lake, because they just never, yeah, it's gonna flow into our lake, yes. But the valve should be opened up to where they're over their lake too.
Sure.
And that's never been done in the 7 years I've been here.
So I think that was in there. Here, let me see if I can read it. Yes. Okay. So South Lake, regardless of stage, if under a tropical storm or hurricane watch,
We only have that one valve.
yes, the valve will be open at least 10% of its capacity. And where I grabbed, just you were where I grabbed these percentages from, I worked with Tim Lee and we looked at, we captured a lot of really good data from the last two storms we got at, how quickly we drew down, how quickly, one lake filled into the next, et cetera, et cetera. And that's sort of where we pulled that's basically where we pulled the 50%, the 10%, the 5% from.
Will it help us in storm situations with them rerouting water from Black Creek over to Keystone? That project that we were told.
It's that's like taking an eye drop.
It's finally underway and going to take place.
It's that project technically, if it's operating, will reduce flooding, but it's going to reduce flooding at the rate that I could reduce flooding from a bathtub filling up from the faucet with an eyedropper. It's not in any appreciable rate, because that watershed is so flashy and it collects so much water so rapidly that pump station's not going to do anything notable to flooding. It's strictly for water supply. That's a water supply project.
That's for downstream anyway, from our lakes anyway.
Correct.
Can't affect it. I guess my only thought on all this, and I'm sorry, are you done? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the TIM data that I've seen opening the Lake Asbury, both valves 50%, you're gonna move way too much water too quickly. It just seems strange to me.
If you do that without feeding it from the South Lake and Lake Rhine, it will drop as rapidly as you're thinking.
Yes.
But when you supplement it, it won't move nearly as rapidly as you've seen when it's had both valves open without
I
anything.
guess I'm just hung up on as soon as the cone of certainty, but we can be in the cone and that thing could be, the rain could be 5 days away. And to open these valves that prematurely seems odd to me. Isn't there not some technical risk to the dams to dewater those dams quickly as well?
No, the only if we had a dam breach and the lake emptied within minutes, what would happen is that you would get soil migrating with the water, and you would get what's called sloughing. Your embankment would fall off in little chunks. You wouldn't really get a dam breach along the embankment; it just degrades. But the rate that we draw it down from the valves is insufficient to cause such sloughing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just seems.
Now that said 50%. If the board feels that's too strong, this is going to be the board's protocol. This isn't my protocol. I'm throwing it out there for discussion. But if the board feels 30 or 40% or whatever the case is more appropriate.
And I'm just going by because we all like to track these storms. It's our interest, but you can pretty much see when the precipitation is going to start. And I think we need to focus more on arrival of precipitation than being in the cone of certainty. But it's a balancing act, I know that.
Sure, it is a balancing act, but the issue is if you're looking at 30 inches of rain 5 days out, we can't.
Am I correct, if you open the valve, North Lake, both of them, 50% takes 2 days to drop it 4 inches?
I don't remember if it was 4 inches or 6 inches off the top of my head.
No, we dropped on the last time we opened that, when we dropped, it took a month to get it to level back up. We had it open 20%, and we dropped 4 inches in a day with both valves open 20%, and nothing open on the North Lake, the South Lake or Lake Ryan. And then when we opened Lake Ryan and South Lake, I think we opened them 10%. Still had 20% on the South Lake. It stayed.
Yeah,
It didn't do anything towards the South Lake, but I was forced to North Lake. So
20 turns, it's up 5 inches a day, in 24 hours. So
20 turns is.
Yeah.
You got that off of that last.
This is Tim's data.
Yeah. Here's a question, Matt, and I don't know, the cone of uncertainty. When you mentioned that, when we had these last couple of things, that's the first time I've had anybody mention that from a drawdown standpoint. In the meetings I've been to for 2 years here, that's the only experience I've had is 2 years. But the previous attempts were using not the cone of uncertainty as a starting point. However, I would think that if we're in a cone of uncertainty that says that you may get it, we can always drop the North Lake 4 inches or so without affecting anybody's boat or water pumps and that sort of thing. And so I would think that you could probably leave the cone of uncertainty in there and say, when you got that, drop it North Lake, because you got to drop the North Lake before you do anything with any other lakes, or you're going to overcome the North Lake. We'll put Carl's flower beds being underwater. But what the other things that had been done in the past was when you had a watch, when it changed to a hurricane watch, then that triggered the action. That triggered opening. I don't care how much you open them, but that's what triggered the action. And then the hurricane warning, obviously, you got 20, if I'm right, you got 24 hours when you get a warning stage. Is that right?
It's 36 hours. You're within 36 hours of a probable strike.
That's the warning?
That's a warning.
36 hours?
Versus 48 hours of a possible strike.
That's the watch?
Is the watch, yes.
Okay. So
So that's my biggest concern. If I like what you're saying about drawing down a flat rate 5 days in advance and then waiting until you get closer. But if you just wait until you get closer, if you wait until you're 36 hours out, Timley, if it's a large enough storm, there'll be tropical storm force winds sustained out there 12 hours ahead of a storm landing. So he won't be able to manipulate gate openings potentially 12 hours ahead of a landing. And so if we do too little until the very last moment, we may find ourselves behind the 8 ball.
Well, you made a comment too that I agree with, in the last storm, the big one, we thought we were getting this 15 inches of rain, so that would have been 15 inches plus another half of times 2 roughly, if you, for watershed and flowing, so you had 30 inches coming into the lake. So at that kind of storm prediction, then we should take aggressive action, and we did. And then the storm changed, so it made us look bad. But if the storm prediction is something significantly less than 30 inches, then shouldn't we take different action?
So I would say yes, but again, the thing about the purpose of this protocol is to set a minimum. We can always go more aggressive from there. So if the board feels that this is too aggressive up front, again, I could change this. In fact, why don't I just throw that out there? Would anybody have an objection to me saying we draw the lake down something to the effect of within cone of uncertainty, but outside of a watch or warning, the lakes will be drawn, the north and south lake will each be drawn down to 6 inches below their normal stage.
Well, if it won't hurt the dams to de-water them quickly, then, I'm with you. Be safe and sleep at night. And maybe just on top of that, we just put an idle-only rule out there for the boats. You can't have your cake and eat it too. We've got to protect these dams.
So if I make that one change, and I'm not hearing any objection to that, or at least nobody's looking at me with nasty eyes, is the rest of the language, the watch, the warning, all those, the level triggers, does anybody have any questions or concerns about those?
No, the only other comment I had was, is Tim Lee is the guy that right now is the contractor that's opening and closing valves, right? And when we say 50%, let's say that he's not available and his son's not available, you need to be telling me or whoever the designated person is, how many terms you want that sucker open, not just, so put 50% and then put how many terms that is.
Okay.
It's different.
Okay, I can do that.
That was the only thing I was thinking about it from, because I've opened them before, and, you need to, it doesn't have a 50% gauge on it, but you can count how many terms you turn it.
Sure. No, that's good. All right, I'll make those change. I'll make those. Go ahead.
One thing that you had in there is probably a good thing, as long as we've got a procedure. And that's probably, for right now, since you're involved with water management and you're involved in drawdowns of different systems and monitoring different systems and all that, you and probably the chairman, whoever that might be, should be coordinating with Tim Lee, so you're to have a threefold discussion based on following this procedure. But if we need to deviate from it either more aggressive or less aggressive, then that 3-person committee, let's call it, should be the one making those decisions. After that decision's made, then it needs to be emailed to the rest of the board. But I don't think we ought to have a board meeting to determine are we going to open a valve 20% or 40% or whatever it is. But that was a good addition to that policy and procedure too.
So is that in there? I don't remember.
I think it's in there.
Did I put that in there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think, okay, let me do, it's right at the top. Contractor, the chairman or his or her designee will renew, okay. So it's at your, just basically it's left to your discretion I designate someone to notify, oh, that's notification of trustees, hold on. I thought I remember it was there was something dealing with the officers. I may have.
I think there is, I'm pretty sure it's in there.
Okay, so, and anyway, so if you're satisfied with that, then I'll just make those couple changes, bring this back to the board in March, and we'll go from there.
I do have a question. Is there a procedure to inform Lola as well? Because they get a lot of calls regarding the lake, especially if
We're
it's
not gonna
going
talk about
down.
that,
Okay,
please.
okay.
All right, so that's it for, the flood control protocol. As far as website documentation, I'll keep this short and sweet. Basically, I think the board, historically, not this board in particular, but all boards do an absolutely horrendous job of keeping track of documentation. And I think we need to start treating our public website like a public library, where we have documentation on there so that we know things like, okay, the 2012 public records request, is that something the board actually passed or not? Well, I don't know, it says here so. Well, there was something posted on the board over there, I'm going off of that. Or what, did the board say something about signatory authority? That should all be online, there shouldn't be any question about that. So I would like to, I'll hold off on a motion for right now. The other thing I'd like to add to it would be a single page that lists all motions made by the board of what I'm gonna call a substantive nature. Meaning, I don't care about a motion to pass a treasurer's report, I don't care about a motion to adjourn, I don't care about motions to pick a chairman, but I care about a motion to approve a mowing contract, to approve an engineering contract, to buy grass carp, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would just have a page that says on this date, the board made a motion to do X, Y, Z. Keep it simple. So my motion right now is that we, number one, create a web page on our site that lists motions moving forward. We're not going to worry about historically, but starting tonight, any motions that we make go on that site. And number two, that we start aggressively adding documents of a useful nature to the public and to the board to the website.
Do you need a second for that?
I would like one.
You know, I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
I guess, and discussion?
Yep, discussion.
My thought is, we all need some serious thought on this website, because there's just so much more value it can bring, but we're not getting there.
I agree.
And I don't want to clutter the motion, but we need, as a group, to think about what else we can do to that website. For example, right now, we're still showing alerts from Ian on the website because we're not managing it right. And I'll stop there.
Chairman,
Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I don't think there's any issue with the motions. That could be done, I guess, once the minutes are, going forward, once the minutes are approved, and surely you just copy and paste the substantial motions. I don't think that's an issue. For the documents, I mean, that's fine. The only comment I would make is there needs to be some kind of checks and balances for what documents we're putting on, just to make sure there's nothing that should be redacted first. So, and I mean, I know you're familiar with that. I don't think you're advocating for like a blanket, just put all documents on there. Probably 90% of the documents don't need any redacting, but there's some that do. So we just need to make sure there's some kind of review process.
Well, couldn't we maybe public, documents of public interest? I mean, yeah, again, this needs more thought.
Well, I mean, most documents we know aren't gonna need to be redacted, like contracts, you know, I don't know, whatever, you know, we get information from Hanson, put that on there. I mean, so 90% of the documents aren't gonna need to be redacted. I just wanted to put on the record, we just need to at least be mindful that if we're just, you know, throwing documents on there, that if there's something that there's a question on, there's some kind of review process.
So at this time, other than the EAP, I'm not aware that we have any recent documents that are of a sensitive nature, but moving forward, if there are any that anybody has a concern with, please bring it up when the document's being generated and discussed.
The other thing we could do is at the end of the meeting, Shirley could go through the motions that were made and approved, and we could have a second chance at looking at them and see if we put it on the website or not. But
Sure.
we don't have any motions normally that are that important,
Sure.
so. Shirley, do you coordinate with the posting to the website?
I
With
sent her
Darla?
the information that is requested to be posted.
Okay, you
And
send it to
she-
Darla?
Yes.
Okay. I've done a few, like Hanson, some of Hanson stuff, I've done a few of those myself. But, you probably should do them all.
She prefers limited contact with
Yeah.
trustees to do that, because she's had a problem in the past.
Yep, so we'll make it, if we review them at the end of the meeting, then, we prove it, you handle it with Carl. Or them, so. Any more discussion?
Just as another comment, if you don't mind, Chairman, when you're doing the motions, it might be good to reference the meeting minutes for those to be found. So let's say 5 years from now, you want to know when the motion for adding whatever, or dredging, or whatever is done. So it's sure if you copy and paste if there's a motions page and you copy and paste the motions, maybe in parentheses you cite the meeting minutes that can be found in. Just a suggestion.
No, that's a good suggestion, and you could simplify the date and the motion, just hyperlink one or both, and direct it directly to the meeting minutes. That would be clean, super clean.
Okay, so we've got a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Come on, Jerry. Mike?
No, it's not square. Makes sense.
Carol?
I think it's a good thing I don't know how robust our site is. I think you need to ask the question.
Yeah, there's some backroom stuff that Darla may need to change.
I think so. Some of it needs updating anyway, but I definitely know that we didn't buy a very big system to begin with, so we need to find out what space we have or what we can do to encourage the growth of it.
Yeah, there's some stuff on there that probably can be taken off too.
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion was going forward. What was the motion?
Number one, webpage for motions of a substantive nature listed as line items with date and a brief description of the motion, hyperlinked to, now this is an amended motion at this point, hyperlinked back to the original minutes. Number two, posting of documents of a substantive nature regularly to that we encounter regularly to the website, such as contracts, studies, the things of that nature.
No, I think unless somebody wants to, say different, I think that once we got involved with the RFQ for an engineer, and then we got involved with the Hanson presentations and the Hanson proposals and updates and that sort of thing, I think that all of that stuff has been put to the website. Matter of fact, I looked at it today, and I can't see anything that's missing. and it's been done in a timely manner too.
The one thing I will say that I think is really good, I just went through a whole afternoon of looking for contracts here, there, and everywhere, and if we have it all there, it would certainly help all of us.
Well, I know Tom sent a request, I saw that, and he was asking for a Hanson contract.
Yeah, well, I had everything except the original.
You might be looking at who's got the original.
Well, I don't know if you have the original.
Well, probably me, because I signed it, then I had to send it off to get their person to sign it, and bring it back and all that, so then I scanned it to the.
Yeah, I found the two amendments, but I didn't find the original, so if you've got the original, then there we go.
I may have, but why do you need the original? It's not a scanned copy, okay or not?
Oh, I think so, wouldn't it? Wouldn't the scan copy's fine?
That's what I sent. That's what I sent to everybody. And my operating mode has been, when I get those things, I send them to everybody, all the board members, and I also post it to the website. So you should have it. You should have it.
I'll go back and look. All I found was.
Yeah, but as far as where to find it, the easiest place to find it is on the website.
Yeah.
Right now.
But there should be a centralized place for all original contracts, and that should be with the secretary.
And I have a contract file on my computer.
The signed contracts. See,
Signed.
The signed original contract.
Yes.
I get to look at the contracts and make suggestions, and then I watch the certificates, but I don't necessarily go back and get them.
Well,
If they give them to me, I have them.
But if it's on her computer, it's a scanned copy, you're not looking for the actual piece of paper,
No,
then I'm confused.
I
If it's
don't.
been sent,
The auditor needed a copy of contracts as well as some additional minutes. And what I have has been sent. No, it's on the,
it's on the back of the.
it's on the back of that folder, the clipboard. Just turn the sheet of paper over and it's on the back. I sent her the copies of contracts that I have, as well as the additional minutes she requested. I still don't have a completed copy of the mowing contract, and I told her I would likely have that this evening.
we've resolved our insurance issues, now it needs to be presented for signature.
Okay.
And then it can be filed with you.
So when ballpark, when can I anticipate?
I think I can close the loop with Carol tomorrow, and we can get that to all these and sign it.
So I can have it to the auditor by the end of the week?
Yeah.
Okay,
Doable.
all right.
Votey vote. Vote.
We need a vote.
Okay.
We need a vote on Matt's, motions, and please don't ask you to read it.
The amended.
As amended.
I have bits and pieces here that I'm gonna have to put it together when I listen to the recording.
Okay, that's fine. So we've discussed it enough. Any more discussion? No. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 8-0. Matt can tell you what it was.
As soon as I play the recording, we'll know.
Okay, now we're,
New business, unless there are no motions.
wait, the lady back there is fixing to do something that we'll probably do this. It's 9:10 p.m. And we have a proposal by Tom Leahy to talk about new business. 1, 2, 3 things.
Yeah, we have what I think the legal term is an attractive nuisance. We have missing, damaged, cracked, loose boards on the South Lake seawall. They were originally put down with the, it's the opposite of CCA, I forget the 3 letters, but this stuff's at the end of its life. It's a hazard. It's not gonna be cheap. I think we've confirmed with the engineers that the top boards are not structural. So I'm putting together an RFQ that we can send out for bids. I know the original outfit, now his name escapes me, but I want to say it's, Hayward, yeah, Hayward, did that. He has expressed interest in bidding. Another, Tim Lee has expressed an interest in bidding. Well, I think we should go back with, engineered lumber, this plastic extrusion stuff. It'll have a much longer life. And we need to get away from deck screws, and we need to go with through bolted stainless connections, in my opinion. The other thing that I've noticed is the water side boards, the headers are 4 by 6 inch, but the land side, or the one behind by in soil contact, are only 2 by 6. So are they falling apart? This may be something we're not going to know till we pull all the top deck boards off. My initial investigations on this were somewhere between, if we go back with 2 by 8s, which is what's there, this stuff is expensive. It's like $35,000 just for material, plus labor. I think we could go to 1 by 8s. That price will drop considerably. Just the freight alone from various vendors is like $3,000 just to get it into Florida, because there's not many distributors that I've found. So all I'm saying is, based on this, I'm putting together a request for quotation, and one of the things that I would like is, I think we should include our insurance requirements, so these people understand what they're up against.
Okay, so you want me to...
I can work with Carol on that. So I think, considering the late hour here, I'm just stop based on that. The other thing is that both the signs on this dam as well, I think they're only 10 years old, but they're faded so badly nobody can read them. That can't be more than a couple, $50, $7,500. So, and then the third thing that I got involved in with the mowing, and then I'll stop, was I've got it here because I was going to show you guys. I can find my own photo, but over here by the south, by the boat ramp, there's where the guardrail stops. There's a black fence that belongs to us with gates, and then there's another black fence that follows the shoreline back, and it's unmowable because with the trees and all that are there now, nobody can get to it. So I'm making a recommendation that we just take that black fence out, leave the double gates. And then the forest groundworks people can get in there and mow, because right now we've got trees growing and all they go in and putz around a little bit with a weed eater, but it's just getting worse.
Who owns the fences?
We do.
Both of them?
Yeah, the low black fences are ours. The new tall galvanized fence is Lakefront people.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get quotes for all this and I'll bring it to the next meeting. So unless somebody else has some better idea.
It's not the lake lot owners
No, there's
property?
Well,
It's just a question, because we don't want to be
no, I think their fence stops at their property. Hang on here. And of course, I can't find my photos, but.
That's all right, you can bring it next week.
Yeah, it's getting late. I think we have a question.
I want to clear one thing up. last thing, it's quarterly dam inspections, Matt, you sent us an email.
Hold on, before we get there, can I circle back? I'm totally with you on using the composite lumber, that's the way to go. I definitely think we should buy the material and that we should contract out for the labor. But if it's looking to be that much, why don't we go out to bid for it?
Well, yeah, that's right.
Would you mind drawing up just a really simple scope of work as far as we need this many boards?
I have all that done.
I mean, if you draw up that scope of work, we can go out to bid with that. Just bring that to the board next month and we can approve that.
Yeah. Alternatively, well, the back story here that I don't have an answer for is I am under the assumption there will be little or no seawall work done with the South Dam in these new projects. But I don't wanna spend a bunch of money, well, we've gotta fix it, but I don't wanna spend a bunch of money and then tear it out because of the kettle work or the new spillway work.
Well, to your point, it's a liability. I don't know if attractive nuisance is the right term for it, but it's definitely a liability. So
I had to chase kids off that just this last week or two.
Okay.
3 times, kids out there fishing and running around, and it's a perpetual thing. The other thing, it's more money than yet, but you can do poured concrete across the top of that, and it'll probably last equally as long or longer. But I really think the extruded lumber is the way to go based on the technology now that I'm reading about. All right, thank you.
Okay, I've got one comment, and then, we've got 2 audience, the quarterly dam inspections. Matt, I read your email, and my only comment about that was, you said you sent those reports to Tracy Wood on a quarterly basis?
I don't send, okay, so Tracy, solicits any and all dam inspections that she can from anybody in the state of Florida on a quarterly basis. So what I do for St. John's River Water Management District is I say, we inspected dam ID, yada yada, on this date. If whatever we get, anytime we get these inspected, I've only reported 2 or twice. But moving forward, what we should do is anytime we get it inspected, it can be Geotech, it could be the engineers, it could be even Tim Lee. If there's an inspection done, the next time she lets me know, I could let you know, and we just send her an email that just says this dam, this ID, high hazard, inspected on this date. Boom, end of story. Helps her get funding, makes us look good.
Okay, the only reason I was sensitive to that was, I didn't know you had been sending her anything. So if you'll send, if you send something, I mean, we picked you as the dam inspector, you're the guy, and that's the way it should be. But send it to the board, and that leads to another question that the board needs to think about too, is what information, I don't send Tim Lee's reports to anybody but Charlie, and Carla was sending them, sure. So if y'all want Tim Lee's reports, then I can put that on a distribution list, because he sends it to me, I approve it to be paid, and, so I'm kind of talking to myself that way too. But one of the things that, was a problem that got us into the February 2021 email from, Tracy Woods was information that, our engineering group at that time supplied to Tracy Woods, and my understanding from Mark McMillan was that nobody on the board saw that information or approved it or nothing. And then the next thing you know, we get this nasty round at the end of February, so.
She's not getting any reports. All she's getting is this dam was inspected on this date. You don't have to say by whom, for what purpose. She just wants a date, the dam number, and the hazard level. It's high level stuff.
Great, no problem then. I just get sensitive, especially after that ordeal that happened right after I got on the board. Okay, Joy Mendoza. Some of you sophisticated people need to listen to this comment or question, because I don't know enough about clouds other than they're pretty in the sky to answer this. She says, does Lansdale have a cloud-based application where they store all documents? You discussed posting documents to a public website, however, a cloud-based app seems more appropriate. Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, that's what. So we've got a web-based, a cloud-based system. I don't remember what it's called. Carbonite? Is that, you familiar with that? No. I'm not.
It's a backup service.
Is this what I'm supposed to do?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. First time.
Welcome.
Thanks. So, I don't know about Carbonite, but really it just, whenever I've sat on boards before, it's always good to have a general repository of all the documents, contracts, and information that you've had in meetings, so that as board members transition, you have access to all of the documents to hear that things are stored in paper files, and that's what they're going through concerns me. What if the building burns down? All of our documents are gone. So I know I'm probably the youngest person in this room. I don't know, some of y'all might be about where I'm at, but certainly putting things on a cloud-based application seems like the wise way to store the documents for an organization like yours. And you talked about scanning things. There's also an application that can easily take a picture of any document that you have and turn it into a PDF that could be, right? Like Genius Scan, if you've never heard of that. Like, take a picture and send it out.
Or you just use notes.
Or you can just use notes. So many options. So just a thought to maybe put these things in an application.
Yeah, and I only know the Carbonite anecdotally from Carl, and I think Darla handles that for us. So do you work with Darla on that?
I work with Darla. Carbonite is on my computer.
Is it automatic? Do you know?
Carbonite is a backup system only.
Yeah.
It takes all of the stuff on your laptop and it stores it for you so that if you have a hard drive failure, you can recover your documents that are on that laptop.
Right.
Anything that's not on the laptop is not backed up anywhere. It's paper only.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
I understand, but that's what she's talking about. Carbonite is not what she's talking about.
Okay.
Sorry, just one other comment. To be specific, the use of this application is that anybody who has login information could access all of the documents and view them at any time. So it just makes it very accessible for all board members.
Yeah, I actually use Dropbox on my last job.
That's what I use. Seems like and it can go on your phone too, so you could look at anything, anytime.
Okay, thank you for your input. The last one was Lynn Nordgren, 7762 Lake Asbury Drive, directly across from the lovely pond that the county completely built for 757 Lake Asbury Drive about 2 months ago. You saw 3 men, one was wearing a business suit, the wheels of the Clay County Public Works. They were looking at the pond and the long grass growing into the water. Owners trying to get the county to cut it back. Huge problem, right? I asked them to look at my bad situation across the street on Lake Ryan, pointed out the problems. The weir was filled up with sand and asked for it to be removed. No positive response, it's a problem. Half the dam was leaning forward because of a major leak, allowing sand and water into Lake Ryan, another problem. The dam was put in by Lansdale and should be their problem. I knew this to be true. A bunch of water flows when it rains through my lakeside driveway and causes erosion at the top of the weir. Response, I will take care of it and build up the curb. Has not happened. I asked them to scoop out the sediment caused by the poor quality workmanship of the county workers when building the pond. That may be a problem. So, I'm saying, if you need any further information, otherwise honest, and try to help him out.
Yeah, so I rode over there this afternoon just out of curiosity because I've never really inspected this stuff before. And this is owned by us. Right now it's leaking around this backside here and it's in need of some work.
I can't tell, Tom, is that concrete or sheet pile?
A sheet pile, it's
Okay.
PVC sheet pile with a cap on it. Let me try and get this thing to flip. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It should start allowing me to see all these pictures, but it's not. This, I guess, was put there by the county. And this is coming from across Lake Asbury Drive from the other pond. And they've had erosion issues here. They've got a whole bunch of these, they put up this double culvert and the sandbag thing.
The county did?
Yeah, the county's doing, I won't say half-assed, but it's not, it doesn't impress me. But I think, yeah, so this is a lot of runoff coming in. The whole place, this little pond reeks right now because of all the plant life and goo growing in it. So yeah, I think we need to, for sure, let me get back to this other, what I need to do is just move them all into one folder. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy, but, cause at least this one's acting right. But,
Where's that at?
this is over Lake Asbury Drive, so if you drive around to,
Just past.
767, they've got the pond on the west side of the road, and it's double culverted under the road to 757, and he's got all this right there in his backyard. So this is a close-up of the county, or somebody's put sandbags here, but the water is going around it. It's causing the cave-ins of the land. So this is on our plate, we just gotta figure out what to do.
I just want to go on the record and say that's at least 3/4 ass job.
This is representative of the county work, is that what I'm looking at?
Well, I'm not sure. Mark McMillan was involved, and he showed me that when I first got on board. And that was a project that he said the county did.
And
Right.
who made the sandbag thing with the?
I think that was some individual, or maybe us as a board did that to
Well,
stop
they
the
did
problem.
another one on Sandridge, just like it. The county did.
Yeah. I went by there and looked at that today too, Tom, and one of those big culverts, there's not water coming out, it's coming out of one side, it's not coming out of the other side, but there's water coming around it, beside. So there's some goofy stuff. I don't know whether, maybe somebody should talk to Mark McMillan. He knows more about that than anybody does, and maybe he would know, what was done by us and what was done by the county. But my impression from when he took me around and showed me 4 or 5 different projects that had been done 2 years ago by the county, that was one of them. Yeah, there was this other side of the road there. So water's coming through Seminole Village and all that area, winds up going into that lake, and then it overflows and goes underground to another box, and then it culverts out of that, and then winds up in another open area, and then that sheet pile wall.
Yeah, it needs to get on the list.
And that, what bothers me is that is representative of the kind of work the county does.
And just to chime in, this is exactly what Mark and I and Janet we do with the county that's outside of the board.
This we need to check, but as far as I know, we own this guy right here.
Y'all will address it?
That's our scope. That's exactly what we do with the county.
Okay, we appreciate that. You know Mark real well, don't you, Mike?
Okay.
So he's the one that showed me that, so.
Yeah, so we're
Okay, so
I'll get William to look at some photos, and when we meet him in February, we'll talk to him February 16th, like.
So your feedback on that to the guy would be that we discussed all the points and that,
Yeah, the public works lady, she'll look at that, she'll address it, she'll
public
tell
works
us.
will be talked to by
Right.
an unofficial committee.
Right.
I don't know how you word
A
it.
group of concerned citizens.
A group of concerned citizens. Okay, that sound good? Okay, I don't think we've got any more here. But you've been here a long time, do you want to add anything else?
No, I'm just looking to get involved. I've been in the community almost 2 years now, and I've never had the time to get here, so.
Well,
Here I am. I don't know that you want me here, but here I am.
Congratulations, you joined us on the longest meeting I've ever been to.
no, you gotta go back to September the 13th.
It's been after 10.
2 years ago, that was the longest meeting. Is that right, Kim?
Hostile.
That was the longest meeting. They do have 2 open seats on the lake lot.
Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing there.
He's not, no, he's not trying to ship you off. We finally have 9 people on this board, which is the first time in forever. So we finally have a full complement of board members, but it's the first time.
Well, I appreciate the work you guys are doing. I think it's well managed, so it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty for residents who are newer out here. And we just are trying to figure out who's managing what and how we can help, so.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. Okay, I guess since we made a motion and accepted it, we need to quickly go through the motions that were recorded enough to list on this new process we got. So, what are they?
Would it work better if she just brings them to the next meeting and you approve them, and at that point they get put on the website? Because I think it's gonna take too long to go through it.
Kim, that was a very great, I would go for that, rest of y'all go for that?
Yeah.
No, really, that's great. Okay, anything else? Can we have a motion, somebody make a motion to adjourn here?
A motion.
Oh, Larry.
Second.
Who's gonna second?
Oh, I'll second.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anything?
Your little chair.